Hello and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Pigside Podcast. My name is Joel Moran and I'm here with John Carlos and Andrew Velez. And this is now episode 127. In this episode, we're going to talk about Scottie Pippen calling MJ out, the Heat and Jazz, the Timberwolves rough patch, the Raptors hot start, players in the MIP race, and Marcus Smart calling out Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum. Riv could not make it here today. He was hospitalized. He's passed out at the gym. So prayers up for Riv. Baby. Hopefully he gets back. He said he's feeling better. So, drop down, feel better, Riv, in the comments. Let him feel loved and appreciated. Hopefully he's back for next episode, but we'll see. Most important thing is for him to feel good right now. So that's why you have teammates, right?
Absolutely.
Klay Thompson goes out, Jordan Poole steps in, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, so that's why you got teammates. So this is going to be a great show, all basketball. Last week's episode was all basketball, and it got a ton of love. Outside of Raptors fans, for some reason, didn't like it too much. We'll address that later on in the show. It's going to be a good one. But before we start, a quick Patreon member shout out to Mario, Langston, Jazzy Juice, Johannes, Ruben, Brian, Ricky, E, Enzo, Sean Solis, Sean, Muffins, John, Sean Triplet, Burner Hoops, Court Cousins, Ben Mack, P. George, Hikari, Mateen, J Aqua, and Dave 2 Freedom. Good old J Aqua.
Good old J Aqua. It's not the same when my boy's not last.
I got it. Okay, next time I'll put him last. No worries. I'll put him last next time. I know that when I said it and that he wasn't last, I was like, okay, it's not going to ring the same.
No, it's not going to. It did not. It definitely did not.
So on to the first topic. Let's start right away on this episode.
Let's go.
Scottie Pippen was not happy with his depiction in the Last Dance documentary when it aired, even though he got his own episode. I don't know what else you want. I really don't know what else you want. When I saw those comments, I understood it from the standpoint that, okay, he didn't get much credit. The guys like John Paxson, all those guys didn't get as much credit, and all the teammates are upset about it. Then I thought to myself, what do you expect? Like, what are they supposed to say about you? We know that you're great. You're a top 50 player of all time. You made that list. Your greatness is recognized. You got an entire episode dedicated to you in that Last Dance documentary. This is no different from any great player we know in sports. Tom Brady, when we talk about his Super Bowl rings, we talk about Brady and Belichick. We don't talk about Julian Edelman. We don't talk about Stephon Gilmore. We don't talk about even Darrelle Revis.
Vince Wilfork.
we don't talk about the other guys. We talk about Brady and Belichick. With LeBron, there's people nowadays that don't even think the Miami Heat were a big three.
Yep.
They don't give Chris Bosh, they don't give Dwayne Wade their proper respect. Even with the Cavs, the reason Kyrie left LeBron is because he didn't feel appreciated because it was all about LeBron. The Spurs, dynasty. Yeah, we credit them as the big three, but didn't Ginobili and Tony Parker get snubbed from the all-time 75 players list? The only guy that was a part of that list was Tim Duncan, and he's the only one that's recognized as that centerpiece. So this is no different. I don't know why Scottie caught so much feelings. People always say Scottie's the reason why MJ advanced in the playoffs, all this other stuff.
Not true.
The first playoff series that Michael Jordan won when Scottie Pippen was on the team, Michael Jordan averaged 45. Scottie averaged 10. 45 to 10. You look at the final stats. You look at Michael Jordan in the finals. 31-6-11 versus the Lakers. 36-5-6 against the Blazers. 41-8-6 versus the Suns. 27-5-4 versus the Sonics. And averaged 30+ in each of the finals against the Jazz. His numbers were remarkably better than Pippen's. And we recognize Pippen as an all-time great defender, one of the best ever. Michael Jordan was just as good as a defender.
Probably better.
It just happens sometimes that someone's greatness overshadows you. Doesn't mean that you're not great, but you just aren't as great, and that's why you're overshadowed. This wasn't a Kobe and Shaq dynamic where it's a tag team duo. This isn't the Hardy Boys. This is singles competition what we're talking about. So this is why Michael Jordan got the respect and got the glamour and the fame, the admiration. But I thought every single bull that was pivotal to that run was highlighted in that documentary. They had an episode about Dennis. They had an episode about Scottie, about B.J. Armstrong. They talked Tony Kukoc. They talked about the guys. They gave them their respect. I don't know what else he wants. What do you guys think?
So like who I'm siding with, I mean, I think the only person that's right in this situation is obviously Michael Jordan. I don't think Scottie Pippen's right because, I mean, if you've been a fan of basketball, you've been following it. For years, he's kind of been throwing little shots at Michael Jordan. There was an interview back, I think, in 2010 where he was saying LeBron was the best player. And then after he had a brief conversation with Michael Jordan, went on to say Michael Jordan was the best. So he's been flip-flopping all along. But, I mean, just to point out what you said, I mean, Michael Jordan was the face of the NBA in that time. He was the face of the NBA. So not only Scottie Pippen, but mostly anybody who played with Michael Jordan, you were not going to get that same admiration as Michael Jordan. He was he's who globalized the NBA game. And I mean, if you think about it, on the court performance, Michael Jordan was better. Michael Jordan's a defensive player of the year, has 9-time all defensive first teams, has 10 scoring titles, 5 MVPs, 6 finals MVPs. He's done it all on the basketball court. There's not too many careers that can overshadow Michael Jordan's. The only one that's probably comparable, maybe Kareem, LeBron James, you know, for obvious reasons with the GOAT debate. But I mean, other than that, you just saw what Michael Jordan did on the basketball court. I don't understand why Scottie Pippen felt slighted. In The Last Dance, Michael Jordan specifically said, there's no MJ without Scottie Pippen. He's giving you your credit. Every other player, every LeBron fan, debater, Shannon Sharp, everybody gives Scottie Pippen his credit. Would he have won those 6 championships without Scottie Pippen? No, probably not. You were not going to go 6 for 6 without Scottie Pippen. But you have gotten your just dues. You're a top 50 player of all time. You have 6 championships. You were drafted with, I think, Horace Grant or whatever. You both started out as role players. Phil Jackson got there. You guys got elevated roles. Michael Jordan, there's people to this day. Michael Jordan made Scottie Pippen what he was. The impact, the influence of Michael Jordan rubbed off on Scottie Pippen. There was practices where Michael Jordan was telling Scottie Pippen, yo, come over here. I see something special in you. You know, you can be the second best player on this team. You can help us get to places that we want to reach. And they ultimately became a dynasty. So I'm signing with Michael Jordan. I mean, I've never really seen Michael Jordan slight Scottie Pippen in that way. I've seen Scottie Pippen throw majority of shots at Michael Jordan back in the early 2010s when he was saying LeBron was better. I've just seen a lot of jealousy coming out of Scottie Pippen. I mean, and it's right. I mean, Michael Jordan is widely regarded as the greatest basketball player of all time. You were just looked upon as a great second option, but you will never be number one. You're always on a team with Michael Jordan. Your role was to be the secondary player. And that's where you were. You played your role to perfection. You're a top 50 player of all time. You got notoriety. You're one of the best all-around players. You were one of the introducers of the point forward in the game. Everybody knows how elite Scottie Pippen is, but come on, bro. You got your just due. Michael Jordan even said himself, there's no Michael Jordan, there's no Bulls dynasty without Scottie Pippen. So I'm siding with Michael Jordan. I can't really side with Scottie Pippen on this.
For a majority,
situation.
I agree with you guys. I think that to a degree, Scottie Pippen needs to take it down a few notches. But his main quote was that Jordan sounded condescending. I don't know if I would go condescending as a word because that's just Michael Jordan's personality. Michael Jordan's always been a listen. I mean, all you have to do is YouTube search Michael Jordan's Hall of Fame speech. It's basically 15 minutes of him saying, I'm the best ever, and here's why. Scottie Pippen needs his respect, though, and I'm sure everyone here at this table can agree Scottie Pippen is one of the best players to ever touch a basketball. And there was times while he was on the court during his tenure, he could be debated to be a top 5 player in the NBA. He was that great. So I can understand where I'm Scottie, and obviously I'm playing with Michael Jordan, who is better than me at basketball. And I'm still a top 5 player, and I'm still not getting the respect I deserve. We also got to take into account that Scottie Pippen was slighted when it came to the contract, too. So there's multiple layers that go on top of it.
He signed it.
For sure.
Definitely did.
I agree with you, but there's the reason why he signed it is sound with me. You'll never hear me say, Scottie, why'd you do that? He had family issues. Yeah. His father was in a wheelchair. I believe his brother was in a wheelchair. He needed to take care of his family, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
But when the owner comes to you and says, listen, don't sign this contract, it's not going to be beneficial for you in a few years, and I'm not negotiating it with you, and still goes and signs it, then it's on Scottie. But I 100% understand why he signed that contract. Nevertheless, there's issues or there's multiple reasons why I can understand Scottie feels some type of animosity towards it because obviously Scottie was this all-world type ball player. And we saw that one season where Scottie was the guy. He still took him to 7 games with the Knicks.
Call?
And let's be honest, if they beat the Knicks, they probably go to the championship. So there's things that I can understand why, if I'm Scottie, I'm upset. Ultimately, though, you're not Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is number 1A, 1B, however you want to look at it with LeBron James. Michael Jordan, at the minimum, he is 1B. Michael Jordan just means that much to the game. Like JC mentioned, like you mentioned, he globalized basketball. He made basketball what it is today. He made it where you watch basketball in Europe. You watch basketball in China. Michael Jordan did all that for the NBA. So condescending, I think that Michael Jordan's been condescending to a degree all his life. I mean, it's not what you're just going to expect him to change come documentary time, where he's going to try and explain to every single person why he's the best ever. Mm-hmm. The only thing I can see, or why this would be even more so condescending, would be that he okayed this around the time that LeBron came back from 3-1. And Jordan wanted younger generation like us to see why he is the best ever. So he needed to be a little more assertive in his approach of saying, listen, you guys think this guy LeBron James is this good, but here's what I did with what I was dealt. I came into Chicago, who was a poverty franchise, and I made them to a 6-time world champion. So, I mean, to a degree, it was out of Michael's hands. But do I understand where Scottie's coming from to a degree? For sure. But it's like a 90-10% thing where Michael's right, because he's Michael and he's bigger than basketball. Scottie was just definitely an integral part in that process.
Absolutely.
But he was a piece of the process.
I just have a tough time taking statements seriously from people who have reasoning behind their statements. They have reasoning behind causing controversy. Scottie Pippen is trying to sell his book. He's trying to sell his a biography, basically, about his life.
Very true.
A book that's probably gonna be condescending and highlight how great he is. And earlier this year, what did he do? He called Phil Jackson a racist. And I'm not saying Phil Jackson's not a racist, because there's
been some questionable
there
moments.
are some stories about him out there that you can go and search up for yourself. But then now criticizing Michael, I didn't like the way we were depicted. I mean, the documentary is about Michael, bro. Like, I know it's called The Last Dance. It's the last season.
That's another thing that I can understand where he was coming from, because that Last Dance really could
supposed to be highlighted the goals, that team.
Yep.
But it really was highlighting it Michael Jordan in his last season. I can understand that, his supposedly last season until he went to Washington. But Scottie Pippen's trying to sell a book. And what happened after he called that MJ? First Take is talking about it. Undisputed is talking. He knows that was going to happen. He knows calling Phil Jackson a racist, that was the result he was going to get. Why didn't Scottie do this before? He's had 20 years to talk about this, or he's had, a year or so to talk about this Last Dance thing and how condescending it was, but he's talking about it now when he's trying to sell a book that I probably might buy, I'll be honest. But, not because of the comments, just because I want to see, I like reading basketball books. So that's why I can't fully get behind this. But like I said, this is no different from any great time player. For example, Golden State Warriors. We are going to know them as one of the best dynasties of the 2010s of probably all time. They were the greatest regular season of all time, 73-9. We know that they didn't win the finals, they didn't win a championship, but they were still the best regular season of all time. 20 years from now, people are going to look up Draymond Green's stats and think he wasn't that good.
Facts. People
are going to look at Curry and say he's the reason why. They're going to knock Klay. People still knock Klay now.
Inexcusable.
They're gonna knock Draymond, and they're gonna praise Steph because he was the 1A. It may not be to the level of MJ because Steph doesn't have those Finals MVPs, and that's always gonna hold them back. But in terms of that, in terms of the Warriors, we're gonna talk about Steph and KD. Nobody's gonna really talk about Iguodala, Draymond, Klay. Those are going to be forgotten about. Klay Thompson just got left off the all-time 75 players list. And I thought he should have got in. He got left off that list. So you can already see that these people that are writing the history books are forgetting about these other guys. And that's what happened to Scottie, and that's what happened to most of Michael Jordan's teammates. This is not a knock on them. It's just we usually tend to celebrate the winning team and the best player on that winning team than everybody else. And we usually forget about everybody else. And it happens in every single sport. You know, when you look at football, last year, Tom Brady and the Bucs. We know the Bucs roster's loaded, but we say Tom Brady's the reason.
I was going to say that's a really good analogy.
You know, when you look at the year before, who won? I forgot.
Football, you're saying?
Yeah, football.
Chiefs
won. We look at Mahomes. Just Mahomes. We don't talk about Steve Spagnuolo changing around that defense. We just say Mahomes, can he be the GOAT? Can he do this? It's the same thing. Every single sport. The best player gets highlighted. Everybody else gets forgotten.
Yo, even when Kawhi Leonard and the Raptors won, you saw people saying Kawhi Leonard was the reason why.
Yeah,
They're not going to remember
Raptors team
the contributions of Pascal Siakam, Kyle Lowry, all these other and Nick Nurse,
Mark Gasol,
her first year as a coach.
Serge Ibaka,
and that's an excellent example because Kawhi Leonard, when he goes to Toronto, they win. It's because of Kawhi. It's Kawhi City. He's the best player in the NBA.
Yep.
Nobody ever talks about that 5 players that year in the playoffs averaged double digits for the Raptors in the finals. We're going crazy. Fred VanVleet was a huge part to that success. Kyle Lowry, Siakam. They were stacked.
Phenomenal.
They were stacked. You know, so that's why the best player on the winning team usually gets the recognition. I don't know why Scottie's so butthurt. It is what it is. Talking about two of the best teams. Let's talk about two of the best teams in the NBA right now. One can say they aren't the best ones, but record-wise, they are up there. The Utah Jazz are number 1 in the Western Conference right now. The Miami Heat are not. They were 1 in the East, but Philly passed them up. But let's just talk about the Heat and Jazz for a second. They both have been phenomenal to start the season. The Jazz and the Heat both have the same net rating of plus 12.6, which is tied for the second best in the NBA. Number 1 is Golden State at 13.2. But talking about the Jazz and Heat, who do you think is the more dominant team? Who can keep it up for longer? And who do you trust come postseason time more?
So to answer those, couple of questions that you asked, I think personally, you guys can attest to this. I've been high on Miami. I've been high on Miami since the offseason. Since they got Kyle Lowry, PJ Tucker. They got those, acquisitions, made their team much better. I think Miami's the slightly better team. I was looking at their offensive, defensive rankings. Miami right now is the 5th ranked offense in the NBA. And they're the number 1 defense in NBA by far right now. I was checking the numbers. And Jimmy Butler, I saw the Kia MVP ladder. Jimmy Butler, I think he's third. He's the third candidate behind Steph Curry and Kevin Durant.
He's been bugging.
He's balling out. He's playing great. Tyler Herro's looking like a serious 6 man of the year candidate. I don't know which one you called that he could potentially win that award. Maybe it was River, whoever called that, great call, because he's looking like he's looking like he's every bit of a person that could win 6 man of the year. Bam Adebayo who was my pick for defensive player of the year. He's killing it on defense this year. Then you have I just feel Miami's just a slightly better all around team. I know they have 3 players scoring 20 points per game. Jimmy Butler's giving you about 25. Tyler Herro's giving you 20 off the bench. Bam Adebayo's giving you 20 and 13.
So who do you think is going to be better in this regular season? Who do you see is going to finish with the best record?
That's the thing. The data tells me that the Utah Jazz will probably finish with the better record, given that they've been number 1 in the West. They're more so of a regular season team. They were my ceiling for them when we did our predictions. I think they could be number 1. My ceiling for Miami was number 3. So I'm gonna say just lean towards the Jazz in the regular season. Now, come postseason time, I'm gonna go with the Miami Heat. I think defensively they can match up with any team in the NBA. Offensively, the Kyle Lowry's gotten off to a slow start. His numbers aren't that well, but I think as time goes on, he'll get better. So I think just defensively and all around, I think Miami has a better scoring cast, supporting cast, and defensively, I think from top to bottom they're amazing. So I would trust them. I think they match up well against the top seeds in the East, whether it be Milwaukee, Brooklyn. I just trust them more, and they have finals experience. They were just coming off the finals a couple years ago in the bubble. Kyle Lowry's a champion. PJ Tucker's coming off a championship. This team, the Miami Heat this offseason really built a team that could really upset the Bucks or the Nets, and I feel like come playoff time, I trust them more. I think their team is just better defensively, and they got that much better offensively that I think they can take anybody down in the NBA.
My biggest concern with the Heat this offseason was that they didn't have enough scoring. They had one person over 20 points per game last season. That was Jimmy Butler. This season, they have about 3.
Yeah.
Bam Adebayo's at 19.7. I'll do him the solid. I'll round him up to 0.3.
That's what I did.
He's been excellent this season. Tyler Hero averaging 20.4 per game. We spoke about that too. You needed that one extra piece off the bench, regardless of where he's going to come from, to ignite the bench unit, to be that piece off the bench that's going to get you that scoring that you need. I had worries about the offense. And like you mentioned, Kyle Lowry really hasn't even gotten off to that great of a start. He's averaging about 10 points per game. His assist numbers are around Kyle Lowry's average. He's averaging about like 7.5, something like that. But they've been scoring a lot. They're top 5 in offense, number 1 defensive rating. But that wasn't a surprise to us. Coming to the season, we knew just looking at that 5 with Lowry, Duncan Robinson has to start, but regardless, PJ Tucker, Jimmy Butler, and Bam Adebayo, that those 5 were going to be good enough to defend against any team in the NBA. Yeah. But offense was the question, and up until this point, they've completely thrown that to the side. And once Kyle Lowry starts cooking, the offense is only going to get better.
And Oladipo is going to come back.
Oladipo hasn't even played a game yet, which is very interesting. Only thing that I have about the Utah Jazz and why I would say I lean the Heat more so to continue their dominance is that Jazz are just a little bit injury prone to me. Donovan Mitchell missed last game, regardless of whether it was just, give him a breather or not. Donovan Mitchell last season missed some time too, and I don't think that Donovan Mitchell's injury prone. Yeah. Mike Conley's getting up there in age, and when Mike Conley's on the court, like we've had multiple discussions about, they're obviously better. I'm not sure if I can trust Mike Conley staying on the court for the entirety of the season, come postseason time. Bogdanovich has been great for sure, but we've seen Bogdanovich go down when they need him most too. Joe Ingles is a solid dude, and we haven't seen any injury history out of Joe Ingles. We haven't seen any injury history out of Rudy Gobert. But we're talking about Donovan Mitchell, who is the piece that makes the Utah Jazz go, and we're talking about Mike Conley, who we've seen when he's not on the court, his impact is felt. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I just trust the Heat's game plan, their scheme, their overall team more, just because from what I've seen from Utah in the past, they can only be so good in the regular season. I think regular season-wise, for sure, Jazz will be there because they're a regular season team. Like you said already, I'm just going to reiterate it in a different way. Jazz are an excellent regular season team, but come postseason time, I'm not all in on them. Sure, they do have the scores. Jordan Clarkson woke up last game for sure. I think he had 28, almost 30 points. He broke out of that slump. I think he won a few games without hitting the 3. He put that to bed. He had an excellent game. They have dynamic scorers. They have aggressive scorers. My concern is his health, and whether Rudy Gobert is going to be able to come out and off the pick and roll defense, if he's going to be able to adjust to those switches. I know Bam Adebayo can do that. Perimeter defense, Bam Adebayo is arguably the best defensive center in the league when it comes to that.
I think he is.
Yeah, I mean, he's been excellent both sides of the court, struggled against Boston, but Al Horford has just been also known for just being a great defender regardless of the age that he's been at. He's been playing at a very high level for the Celtics too. So I'm not thinking too much about that Celtics game. I think overall, the improvements that they've shown on offense, I lean the Heat right now.
Come playoff time, you trust Miami more, right?
I do. I lean Miami come playoff time. 1, most importantly, Eric Spoelstra.
Great coach.
And 2, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, Kyle Lowry, PJ Tucker.
The Jazz are going to be the best regular season team.
Without a doubt.
We all agree to that.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And there's no doubt about it to me. Even if Donovan Mitchell goes down, even if Mike Conley goes down, they find ways to win regular season games.
For sure.
Versus Atlanta, they beat them by 18 without Donovan Mitchell. Jordan Clarkson had 30 points in that game. Rudy Gobert is taking a bigger step in rebounding, and probably he's averaging more rebounds because of the more physical play in the NBA. Now there are more missed shots as well. True. So he has more opportunities to get those rebounds. The Jazz are a great regular season team, and I think because they're so great, no matter who they plug in and play, is the reason why Donovan Mitchell will never get his respect as an MVP candidate.
Okay.
Because Jimmy Butler, he's third in the MVP race, right? Yeah. And Miami Heat, they were the first seed. He's averaging 25. Butler's averaging 24, 6, and 5. Mm-hmm. Mitchell's averaging 25, 5, and 5. The Jazz are the first seed. Nobody talks about him at all in the MVP conversation. There's a reason for that. It's because when Mitchell goes out, they still beat an Atlanta team by 18. They still do what they do. Mitchell isn't an analytics darling. The players with the best PER on the Jazz are usually, Conley or Gobert. Those advanced metrics usually favor those players. In the offseason, you mentioned that the Heat didn't have enough scores. I agree. They don't have a James Harden, Kevin Durant, Dame level scorer, but they have a lot of guys. And Kyle Lowry, he's in a funk right now. He's averaging 10 points per game. He got injured versus Boston. He was limping off the court. Well, he was hopping off the court, actually. But Miami, there's just something about them defensively that I just trust them. And the reason why I trust them in the playoffs over the Jazz, it has nothing to do with their personnel. It just has to do with the fact that they've already been to the finals. This core has already been to the finals. Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, they already been to the finals. Dwayne Dedmon is a really good role player for them. We know that Kyle Lowry, the additions of Kyle Lowry and PG Tucker, what they did for them, what they're doing for them defensively as of now, second best defensive rating in the NBA, is absolutely astonishing. I mean, they are locking down teams. They are that great defensively. And Victor Oladipo is that X factor. And when he comes back, and when you have Hero and Dedmon and Oladipo off the bench, when you get that crew together, if they start catching a rhythm, this team can go by the East. Because right now, Milwaukee, Jrue Holiday's hurt right now, banged up. Middleton didn't play last game. Brook Lopez is banged up right now. And Milwaukee, you're seeing it right now to start the season. Their depth isn't that great. They lose one of their main guys. Their depth can't fill in.
To be fair,
DiVincenzo's out too.
They lost 3 guys. Three of their main guys. Yeah. So I'm going to give them a little bit of
they lost to Minnesota without Jrue and Brook.
Yeah.
But, I mean, for Jrue's career, you look at where he's been at with the Pelicans, he was hurt a lot.
Yeah.
So he's not a guy that usually stays healthy. Brook Lopez, this is an anomaly year because he's usually healthy. But Jrue Holiday is that guy that if he's banged up, they don't get past the Nets. They don't get past the Heat.
They won't beat us without Jrue Holiday.
They're not beating nobody without Jrue, one of the top teams in the East.
They won't beat us without Middleton either.
Oh, for sure.
But the Jazz are no slouch. And the Jazz, if they're healthy, they can give any team in the West a run for their money.
Absolutely.
For me, I'm with Golden State all day. Golden State's my team. They're first in net rating right now. I'll pick them before the season.
They've been excellent.
Of course.
I'll pick them before the season to make it out the West.
He said my
But the second team is a toss-up. The Lakers or the Jazz. Because we know that Utah team, they have Russell Westbrook figured out. They eliminated him how much times in the playoffs already?
I think it was once.
It was just once. But a rookie Mitchell eliminated Westbrook in the playoffs.
Phenomenal.
They have Westbrook. They have that game plan figured out.
Mitchell's that playoff performer as well.
They have that game plan figured out. So for me, I know the Lakers have the star power, but for me, I just put, my West rankings in terms of playoffs, Warriors, Jazz, and Lakers. Lakers and Jazz are fighting for that second spot.
Fair enough.
But me, I think it's Golden State. And, both teams are great. I think the Heat have an edge on them just because of that experience in the playoffs and because they tend to stay more healthy. But the Jazz are no slouch either.
All three of us have a similar opinion, so I'm going to go in depth in what you just said right now about the West. And I won't go too deep because obviously they know who I side with. But Jazz to Lakers right now. We've seen the transition. We've seen AD move to the 5 like I've been absolutely begging the Lakers to do, and we've seen it have some success. He's been playing out of his mind. Russell Westbrook, outside of the 2 games, he's been playing okay. Yeah. He's had some struggles still defensively, and I think that will get cleaned up. LeBron, surprisingly, I think it was an abdominal strain, something like that. He's going to be out for the week. We look good. I think we look damn good.
A little 19-point lead.
I'm not thinking about that too much, truthfully. It hurts, sure. Like, as a fan, I want to win those games, and we should be 7-2 instead of 5-4. That being said, AD playing at the 5, going against Gobert, I love that.
AD playing at the 5 is going to open up the floor a lot for Westbrook.
God. And Melo, the way that Melo's been playing
amazing.
I'll give you your credit for sure. You said Melo needs to be that third best scoring option for the Lakers if they want to have success. He's been otherworldly.
Melo's been really good.
I don't know if I said that. I think I said something along those lines, but regardless, you're praising me, so I'm fine.
Listen, because Russell has been doing his thing. I just love the fact that Russell's being more aggressive. I begged for that when we lost the first 2 games. Because if he's not being aggressive, then you take Russell Westbrook out of the game completely. But I never doubted Russell's aggression, for sure. Yeah. It's just a matter of if he's going to start making his shots or not. As long as he's knocking down 1 to 2 threes a game, 2 threes max, you still have to think that he's going to shoot the basketball. And then you still can't guard him driving the ball because he's too fast.
You know, I had this thought once I saw the Lakers play their first couple of games in the season. I said that I don't know why people think it's a given that Westbrook's just going to be the third best player on the Lakers, because we know it's LeBron and AD. But on any given night, based on how erratic Westbrook's play is, Carmelo can be their third best player on any single given night.
It's because Carmelo, you know he's going to come in. I'm sorry, JC, if you want to go on something. Carmelo is going to be consistent. From what we've seen, at least, he's just been making his shots because they're not double. You can't double team Melo, at least not in this point in time. And he's an isolation basketball player. Back to the basket, there's very few post-game players better than Melo.
I just think he's just become so much better as a spot
It's over 40% again.
It's been unbelievable.
You know what I think Melo did? I think Melo saw Chris Paul at 36 go to the finals and lead a Suns team there, you know, with Devin Booker, you know, give him his respect. They're a great team. And then he saw LeBron still playing great in his 19th season. Carmelo said, if these two guys can still play at an all-star level, I can still play. I came into the NBA the same time as LeBron. If he can still be a top 5 player in the league, why can't I be all-star caliber? And now Carmelo, you know, spent a year with Portland, spent 2 years with Portland, getting his body back in shape. I think this year we're finally seeing all of his work, his body finally be in ultimate shape, and now we're getting a more refined Melo who's adapted to this game and has become a really valuable spot-up shooter.
So what do you think, JC, as it stands right now, Lakers or Utah?
Is this just for the regular season?
You know what? Regular season, I feel like regular season, Utah's going to be one.
Yeah,
I don't have any doubts about that because, like you mentioned, they're very good in terms of plug and play. They don't need their main guys to be out there night in, night out for them to still win games. They've got the regular season down packed. It's come postseason time that I really do have questions.
Come postseason time, I mean, we've seen throughout LeBron's career, he steps it up to another level. Hopefully he's healthy this year going to the playoffs. There's no mishaps, no injuries going in between him and Anthony Davis. I'm still going to stand on what I said. I still think come playoff time, I think the Lakers are the most scary team in the West. You have LeBron James, you have Anthony Davis, you have Russell Westbrook. It's only game 9, game 10 of the season. You have Melo playing well. I have no issues. I think this team is going to figure it out. And come playoff time, I mean, come on. Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert versus LeBron, AD, Westbrook, Melo. Who are you putting your money on? Let's be real. Who are you putting your money on?
See, I just can't. I don't want to disrespect Bogdanovich.
We're not. Look. Listen. Every indication.
How much better is Westbrook than Conley right now?
He's better than him. By
he's better than him, but it's really not.
I think he's slightly better than him. Slightly.
I think impact wise.
Now, how much?
If Conley was on the Lakers, he would make y'all really good.
Okay, I'm not disagreeing
because
with
of shooting.
That's the thing.
And just defensively, Russ is not good.
All right. So then, I mean, you know, one thing to all the Jazz fans, I'm really sorry, I forgot about this. Donovan Mitchell steps up in the playoffs. His numbers, he's one of the best playoff performers of all time statistically. He averages 29. Pardon me, Jazz fans. But it's just like,
I hate Bazemore so much.
It's just like LeBron, healthy LeBron, he's still showing you he can. There's nights where LeBron put up 34, 9, and 9. We know we can still get that out of LeBron. Healthy Anthony Davis. Last time we saw him healthy throughout the postseason, gave you 28 and 11.
He's shooting
on
14%
route to the
finals.
finals.
From
3. Who, AD?
Yeah,
he's been bad from 3.
Yeah.
I just feel like if you have Russ and AD who can shoot, LeBron,
but I don't feel like AD's going to shoot 14% all. He's not going to shoot 14% all year.
I don't know if he's going to. I think
30, 31, 32%.
They'll feel comfortable leaving him open, depending on how he finishes.
But the thing is, if they decide to leave him open, that's a mistake.
I just feel like Anthony Davis at his best, honestly, is just I'm gonna just be honest. He's way better than Gobert. Let's be real. Anthony Davis at his best. Last time we seen him at his best, they were champions.
No, there's no doubt.
Anthony
he's way
Davis
better
at
than
his
Gobert.
best. LeBron James at his best. The only one who kind of scares me in the Lakers, Russell Westbrook, because he's been kind of iffy in the playoffs. But I just think the duo of LeBron James and Anthony Davis, how much they step up their games when they're healthy in the playoffs, I feel like that's enough to get you past Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. That's how I feel.
Do you think there's any chance Carmelo wins 6th Man of the Year?
He has a shot. Tyler Herro's been bugging out, but I mean, we're going to see. It's only been 10 games. Let's see if Tyler Hero can I don't think Tyler Hero is going to consistently drop 20 points per game off the bench.
I don't know. He can.
I see 17, 18 a game.
Who you saying?
Tyler.
Oh, I think he can stay above 20.
You think he can be 20?
I think he can stay at 20.
At 20.
I say for him, maybe 18 points per game. For me. I don't know if he
bugging.
Can. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I would say Melo could probably finish top 3. And that's not out of
behind Clarkson and
exactly.
And Tyler?
Clarkson and Tyler. I think Tyler right now has got to be the favorite because after he came out with that quote, I'm on Luka, I'm on Trey's level, and bro's been averaging. I think Luka started to bug out a little bit. I think he's at like 24, 25 points per game, but he's still averaging more points than Trae Young. We got to start giving Tyler his respect offensively.
No, Tyler Hero's a good scorer.
No, but right now, at least where it stands, I got to go Tyler Hero as the
Tyler's
sixth man.
number one, yeah.
Melo and Jordan Clarkson right now, obviously Utah's the number 1 seed, but
Melo's been a little better.
He's been super efficient.
Melo's been a little better.
Efficiency that you probably can't keep up for a season type efficient. So
I think if Melo does win that award, that would be the perfect award for his resume. And it'd be the perfect storyline because the biggest knock on him was that he didn't want to come off the bench. Now he willingly comes off the bench. In Portland, he was very great off the bench. Now he goes to LA, plays with LeBron, and wins 6th Man of the Year. That's such a great storyline for his career. And what if the Lakers win a championship? I was
going to say, cap it with the chip.
Now if Melo got a championship with 6th Man of the Year, I mean that's like
Rib. Is that enough to put on first ballot finally, bro? If he has a 6th Man of the Year and a championship,
he's definitely
he's
first ballot.
And he's first ballot. Rivers talking nonsense. Riv just
and then Chris Paul will be the only one in the Banana Boat crew without one.
Yeah, but just imagine Melo winning that championship and his 6th Man of the Year. It's not like a Jayson Kidd championship. Where he was averaging 6 and they won.
Jayson Kidd was starting.
Now he was great in that. I'm not.
Defensively, he was really good.
He was great.
He was good.
He was way.
He was old.
Past
he was old.
prime.
He was 38, 39.
But the thing about Jayson Kidd is that he just made an impact without showing it on the box score much. Because I remember when he went to the Knicks, we won 53 games, and Jayson Kidd, the stats didn't show it, but he was very huge for us.
Yeah.
I had this thought watching Golden State the other day, because Jordan Poole, we saw what he did against Charlotte. He went crazy. He went off. He's my pick for most improved player. That doesn't look too good right now. But nonetheless, I had this thought. If Jordan Poole keeps on playing like this, if he's averaging 16 to 18 points efficiently, he's playing really good defense right now too. When Klay comes back, does Golden State have Klay come off the bench?
Absolutely not.
No way.
Absolutely not.
Can't.
I understand what you're saying.
At first he'll probably come off the bench of minutes restriction.
I'm not saying at first. I'm saying come off the bench for the year. You want to know why?
No way.
Klay is coming off of 2 career-ending injuries, ACL injury and Achilles injury. Who's a guy that went to Golden State in 2015 and was an all-star, but came off the bench for the betterment of the team? Andre Iguodala.
Yeah.
Klay Thompson, knowing he's not the same defender, he's the same shooter. What if Steve Kerr tells Klay Thompson, it's better for you to come off the bench for us? And now Golden State would have a bench of Iguodala, Klay, Bielitsa, Damian Lee.
What's wrong with
Gary
Poole off
Payton,
the bench though?
Because I just think Jordan Poole.
His confidence needs to be in the starting lineup too.
No, I think he could be a great bench player. I just think Jordan.
Yeah, me too. That's what I'm saying.
Jordan Poole is just a better defender. He's a better defender than Klay right now.
I mean, we haven't seen Klay defend.
I'm just predicting that Poole, even when Klay comes back, is going to be a better defender because the injuries that Klay has sustained are substantial. And I feel like if Golden State wants to keep up this great defensive rating that they're at a historic pace. Poole has to start for the rest of the year. Klay comes off the bench. And Iguodala can help him out with that process because he's done it before.
It's tough, man. I don't
like that.
It's not.
I don't.
I think out of a respect.
You want to know why too?
At the minimum, they'll start him.
I understand the respect thing, but this is another point I have as well. Klay Thompson, he's not a creator. He's not a playmaker. He's a spot-up shooter, and there's nothing wrong with that. But Jordan Poole offers Golden State a different dynamic because he can put the ball on the floor and he can create for himself and for others. It's harder to trap Curry when you got another playmaker in Jordan Poole out there who could get his own. Klay Thompson, spot-up shooter, it's much easier to hone in on Curry and kind of take guys out. Because I think because Jordan Poole can create better on offense and he's a great spot-up shooter as well, he probably fits Golden State better now, and that's why I would keep him in the starting lineup.
But so, given the fact that he is a better facilitator to a degree, he is better at putting the ball on the ground and making things happen. Wouldn't you want that on the second unit also?
I think they already have that.
But wouldn't that be?
But I don't. Pardon me.
In terms of what Iguodala,
they already have a bunch of playmakers on their
Damian
bench.
Lee has been doing his thing.
Bielitsa has been amazing for them.
He has been.
Iguodala has been.
He's been good.
I mean, I'm just talking about their respective roles.
For sure.
Their respective roles, they have been amazing for them.
They are 7-1.
So Bielitsa, Iguodala, Damian Lee has been really good. Gary Payne the second has been really good.
Really good.
Oh, they have a lot of guys that can step in, and I just don't think that on the bench, Klay probably is much better suited.
I'll just say this, and then we can move on.
Yeah.
I think that Klay Thompson has made his impact felt too much on the basketball court for them not to at least give him the opportunity to start a game or two, at the minimum upon his return, to see, all right, is he still this defensive specialist? Is he still this knockdown three-point shooter that we all have no doubts he will continue to be? He is a better shooter than Jordan Poole.
Yeah, no doubt.
By far.
And a more consistent shooter than Jordan Poole.
Yeah, no doubt.
We've seen Jordan Poole have really great moments these last two games, 31 and 25 points respectively. He's been very, very good. But we've seen those stretches in between
where he's played really bad.
where he's been mid. I can tell you for sure, Klay Thompson will be at the minimum consistent in his points per game. Jordan Poole has been excellent defensively for sure, but we don't know what Klay Thompson is going to be until he comes back and shows us. So with that being said, off name and respect alone, Klay will start. But what you're saying, at first, it's crazy. It's a crazy thought because obviously Klay Thompson's Klay Thompson and what he means to Golden State is significant. That being said, what Jordan Poole has been doing and what the Golden State Warriors have been doing together, it's not that crazy once you really think about it.
I was gonna ask you guys, a similar player that was coming off those injuries, obviously with a different type of game, was John Wall. John Wall still averaged 22 and 7 last year.
Inefficiently.
He didn't look that bad though.
He didn't.
He didn't look that bad off those injuries. Now their games
And he's not going to have to do what John Wall has to do.
No,
John Wall had an Achilles though. He didn't have an ACL as well.
Yes, he did. John Wall tore his ACL and his Achilles. I think
it was meniscus.
Look it up. I know he had a very bad knee injury, and then he fell in the shower and tore his Achilles. I think that's what it was. But I know he was coming off two pretty significant injuries. And pull up his stats for me, because I don't know if he was that inefficient as Joel said he was.
Who are you saying, John Wall?
Yeah.
Last season?
Yeah.
It's just last season he just had to do an absurd amount because obviously he was on the Rockets.
That's the thing. The last time we saw Klay Thompson play basketball, Kawhi Leonard was on the Raptors. JC, put your phone out for a little bit. The last time we saw Klay Thompson play a basketball game, Kawhi Leonard was on the Raptors. Jimmy Butler was on the Sixers. The NBA was completely different.
AD was in a Pelicans uniform.
He's had two career-ending injuries, substantial injuries, an ACL injury and an Achilles injury. If I'm Golden State, I tell Klay Thompson, look, for the betterment of the team, come off the bench. Like Iguodala did in 2015, where he took a lesser role for us to be championship contenders. Klay Thompson off the bench makes the most sense because I think Jordan Poole right now is a better playmaker. He's a better facilitator. He can spot up shoot. Not as good as Klay, but offensively, he offers more than Klay. And I'm just predicting that Jordan Poole is a better defender than Klay Thompson coming off of two substantial injuries. Klay Thompson off the bench, taking that reduced role, at least for this season, just to get your body back under you, I think makes the most sense. Golden State, they already have the best net rating in the NBA without Klay. They are already a threat and championship contenders without Klay. So Klay, whether he starts or comes off the bench, they're still contenders. So, but I just think off the bench, with Iguodala off the bench and Bielitsa and a Damian Lee or, and an Otto Porter, it makes much more sense. Because just imagine a bench of Klay Thompson, Otto Porter, 40% three-point shooters with Iguodala facilitating, playing defense, Damian Lee, Gary Payne II coming to get some minutes, with Bielitsa as a facilitator. You can get Klay into their spots, and I think he'll get exposed less on the bench. They won't target him because I think in the starting lineup, teams are going to try to target Klay because he's coming off of those injuries.
I think given the fact that Jordan Poole has been playing so great, let's say Klay does start, he'll probably be looking at I wouldn't say like a DeAndre Jordan where DeAndre Jordan will start the game and he'll get 10 minutes. But I think for the first week, 2 weeks, we'll see a 15 to 20 minute restriction where Jordan Poole's still playing a good portion of the game. So we won't see him getting as, targeted as he probably will be come later on in the season if he's really getting up there in minutes per game. But given the fact that Jordan Poole has been playing so great, I don't have a concern with the transition that they will have in terms of substitutions. You understand what I'm trying to say there? Jordan Poole, he's already had that role off the bench for them. So now you bring in Klay. Jordan Poole still has this confidence within him that, listen, I know what I can do when I have the ball in my hands. It doesn't matter if I'm off the bench in the starting lineup. It's Klay Thompson. It's not a disrespect thing. Because I know once Klay's not here, it's my time.
That's a great point because Jordan Poole, and thinking about it now, Jordan Poole off the bench, Golden State, Damian Lee is good, but he's not a creator.
No, for sure.
Gary Payne is good. He's not a creator. Jordan Poole is a creator, and he can be that creator off the bench where Klay is not a creator either. He has to be with other creators for his game to shine. And Steph is the ultimate creator, and that's why they've been so successful together. So I can understand that. But if I'm Golden State, I just think about a bench that features Klay Thompson with Iguodala and Bjelica, and I go, man,
it's intriguing.
If Klay comes off the bench, because they're already great, the starting lineup is already great. Klay could come off the bench for that extra punch and firepower. It's a scary sight. It's a scary sight for any team to go up against.
Klay's young still, though. I'm still holding out hope. He's 31 years old. For sure, ACL, Achilles is scary. He's still Klay Thompson. And until I see otherwise while he's on the court, I can't address him otherwise as being anything lesser until I see it. If we watch the first week and defensively he's a little bit slow, he's not the same, it's expected. We're expecting that. But it's in terms of how drastic it's going to be.
You know what else, though, I had a thought of the other day that I tweeted out this too. At Joel V. Moran, if you guys want to look at my tweets on Twitter.
What's your middle name?
Vladimir.
Okay.
Yeah. Like
Okay.
Kozlov.
Yeah.
Steph Curry. I don't know why people still think he's a bad defender. He's a good defender. He's a really good defender.
He is a good defender. He's just undersized, and that's why.
He's undersized, but he's 6'3". I mean,
in terms of like big body,
I think
he's gotten stronger.
He's gotten way stronger. I could see a notable difference in his physique now. He's gotten stronger.
He's always been a pretty good defender, though.
I think that people overblow that narrative that he's not a good defender. I think he's a good defender, and this year it's showing up. He's not an elite one or a great one, but
he's not a liability.
He's not a liability on defense. People talk about Steph like he's a liability on defense.
They talk about it like
he's not
Isaiah
a liability
Thomas,
on defense.
Like 5'9". They talk about him like he was 5'9". Isaiah Thomas couldn't stop.
It's just always that Klay Thompson was a better defender than he was, and so obviously he took that assignment.
But Steph is not a liability on defense. He's playing excellent defense this season.
To call him a liability is a little bit strong. And he's
been playing excellent defense for the past couple of seasons as well.
He definitely has. It's just in terms of, like I said, size.
And you know what's the difference too? Over the top I think the difference is like, for example, my favorite player is James Harden. When you watch James Harden play, you can tell defensively there is minimal effort.
Yeah.
Even when he gets stops, there is minimal effort. With Steph, maybe he's not stopping guys.
Yeah.
But the effort is there. His hands are active. He's talking. He's communicating. He's active. Harden isn't active.
Yeah.
And I think Steph, he's not a liability. He gives his effort. He contests. He does the most he can, and I think that narrative has to stop because he's actually a really good defender.
I feel like a perfect example of that would be the play-in game where Curry and LeBron, obviously Curry's playing excellent defense, does literally everything he can do. LeBron is just able to shoot it over the top of him because that's just a disadvantage Curry has, truthfully.
I mean, if you've been watching for years, you know, when Klay Thompson was playing, when it was the Splash Bros, when they were present, you saw a lot of teams targeting Steph Curry, trying to get the screener, to set a screen on Steph Curry's man to get him. That I feel like that's what the majority of people who watched the game saw, that they were picking on Steph. And I mean, obviously Steph is an inferior target compared to Klay Thompson and Draymond Green. But if you were watching, you know, Steph Curry, he was usually always there. You know, had a solid contest. He's not somebody who you have to hide on defense. I don't think you have to hide him on defense.
Like Damian Lillard or Steph Curry defensively.
Steph Curry easily.
By far.
Steph Curry, yeah.
The Raptors right now are on a hot streak. Well, they're not on a hot streak because they just lost to the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Good game.
And how fitting, right? How fitting that we make a video about our top 5 rookies. A week later, they face off, Scottie versus Mobley. And Mobley, at least on the stat sheet, outplayed Scottie because I think Scottie outplayed Evan Mobley. Watching the game, I thought his impact was much greater. But to each their own, everybody has a difference of opinion. But the Raptors, they have been really good. They are 6-4 right now. They could have beat Cleveland. It was a 1-point loss. If Scottie had maybe put a little bit more into the ball, he would have got that tip in.
Cleveland had the lead for 5 seconds of the game. The
Yeah.
entire game, and it was the last 5
Almost
seconds.
wire to wire.
Insane.
The Raptors have the 8th best defensive rating this season and hold opponents to the 5th fewest points in the league right now. And I saw a glimpse of that when I was watching the Raptors and Knicks game. I mean, not only did Gary Trent and OG go off offensively, but defensively they are everywhere because they have so much length. It feels like you don't have a slither of open space. They get after it, but we know this from Nick Nurse coach teams. They are like this. But what do you make of the Raptors' hot start? Why do you think they have been rolling so much? And Siakam is coming back against the Nets on a minutes restriction. So what do you think they'll be once Siakam comes back? I'll start with you, Drew.
So the Raptors have looked very good, and the biggest part of their game that we were all high on was going to be their defense. That addition to Scottie Barnes, what I have been most impressed is that Scottie's been able to have as much impact offensively as he's had, because that was the biggest question mark about his game coming into the season. What was his impact going to be on the scoring/offensive side of the ball? And he's put that to bed. I think he's averaging around like 18 points is spectacular. Last night he was a little bit inefficient, or what was it, 2 nights ago? Last night, regardless. He was a little bit inefficient, but he still is active. Defensively, he is as advertised. He's an excellent defender. You look at what Federico's been doing. You look at the impact that OG Anunoby has had on this team and the leap that he's taken this year, averaging over 20 points this season. He's been amazing. I just think in terms of their hot streak, let's look at this 5-game win streak. Indiana, Orlando, Indiana, New York, Washington. I'll give them the respect. Washington has been playing okay, so that Toronto win was valid. That game against the Knicks are obviously a primetime team in this league. That's valid.
Obviously.
Indiana, Orlando, Indiana. As much as I like Indiana, Indiana hasn't been off to the greatest of starts recently. And obviously Orlando is arguably the worst team in the East, given the fact that they still do play hard. Pistons are up there, truthfully, even though they've been
Pistons are worse than Orlando.
They've been very disappointing. But I'm not looking too deep into their schedule because defensively they have been excellent. I think they've let up 100 points, twice? 1, 2, 3. They've given up 100 points, but just over 100 points. They haven't given up anything egregious like 120, 115. The most they've given up this season is 109 points, and that was to Orlando, which is ironically one of the worst teams in the league. So I got to give them the respect. And once Pascal Siakam comes, that's just another addition to their team offensively, scoring-wise, that I wouldn't say they desperately need, but it's one of those things that definitely could be more beneficial. The only person averaging over 20 points for them is OG Anunoby right now, but you still have Fred VanVleet averaging just under 19 points. You have Scottie Barnes averaging just under 18 points. Gary Trent Jr., who has been a pest defensively, I think he's averaging over 2 steals a game. He's averaging actually 3 steals a game. He's been very active with his hands. He's been stellar defensively. That trade for Norman Powell, the Blazers must be kicking themselves for that because Gary Trent really has just been excellent.
I don't know. Norman Powell has been really good for them, too.
He's been solid, but defensively, Gary Trent, I just think...
I think Norman Powell's better defensively.
Norman Powell's a really good defender.
I think he's better.
He is a solid defender, but in terms of giving you extra possessions, the speed, the athleticism, his ability to shoot the basketball, Norman Powell is a very good player, but Gary Trent's younger. He fits.
That's really the only thing he has.
And he fits the scheme.
He's younger. That's it.
It's close. But Blazers also, didn't they? It was a 2-for-1 deal, something like that.
It was a win now move for them getting
Norman Powell.
Yeah.
Which is really, they're about the same player.
I don't know.
Except
I thought
that he's
they're
younger.
different.
They're in the same
different.
tier. They're in the same tier.
Gary
He's
Trent,
a little bit bigger. That's all.
Gary Trent Jr. is a spot up shooter. He can create occasionally, but he hoists up a lot of shots, and he has a big splash like he did against the Knicks, or he's a volume shooter. That's what he is. He's a volume scorer. And Norman Powell, he's a better ball handler than Gary Trent Jr. I think his spot-up shooting, at least as of recently, has been just as good, and he's a smarter player than him offensively, I think. And defensively, I think he's better than him as well. Gary Trent Jr., I really just think he has the age. That's all I think he has on Norman Powell.
3 steals a game, though, is not something
that's actually leading the NBA.
3 steals, really?
Yeah,
I thought Jimmy was up there too, because Jimmy has just been a ball hog too. That's crazy.
Gary Trent's been really good.
But then obviously we obviously haven't seen Siakam come to play to take part in this mix either. My biggest question would be how it would impact Scottie Barnes' play, truthfully, because I feel like without Siakam, it's been allowing one other person to get more scoring opportunities. I feel like Barnes has been beneficiary of that. Once Siakam comes in, that's where I felt as if Barnes coming into the season would be more of the point forward type thing where he's facilitating the offense. Mm-hmm. Really hasn't been like that. Federico's been doing all right in that sense, truthfully. OG Anunoby has been very special with the ball in his hands. So I just think that if I'm looking at the starting lineup right now and who would take probably the biggest hit, I think it would be Barnes. But in terms of obviously who you want to develop and have as be one of the cornerstones of your squad, I'm sure they're looking at Barnes and they want him to be that guy. So I don't think it would be beneficial for them to do that. I just see it happening. But I don't think that it's a fluke. I mean, you lose this game against Cleveland, it hurts. That's a stinging loss for sure. But I think defensively, as long as you play hard every single night, like we saw with the Knicks last season, they were one of the best top 3 defensive teams in the league, and it brought them to the playoffs, and they were extremely high seed. It's not impossible that we see it again with the Raptors, given the fact that they play amazing defense night in, night out, and they're doing this without arguably their best offensive scorer.
I agree with pretty much everything you said. I mean, their strong start has kind of caught me a little bit off surprise just because the emergence of Scottie Barnes. I felt like with him, with his emergence, it just makes them more of a more competitive team, a team that if they're clicking on all cylinders, if Siakam can come back, that's maybe a team that could surprise somebody with a first-round win just because they're coached so well. But this Raptors team is a top 10 in offense. They're number 10 in offense. And then defensively, they're ranked number 5 on defense. So they get after it defensively. OG Anunoby's been excellent this year. I saw a game when he played the Knicks. He had 36 points.
Yeah, 36 is crazy.
You can just see offensively, he's gotten better. He's starting to hit the pull-up now. He attacks the basket. He's always been a good shooter, good defender. You have a rookie who's giving you about 18 and 9 a game, looking like the rookie of the year, like the Raptors fans are saying, looking really great. But, I mean, just look at this team across the board. OG's giving you 21. Fred's giving you 19 and 7. Scottie's giving you 18 and 9. Gary Trent's giving you 15 points with 3.1 steals a game, which is leading the NBA. This team is top 10 in fast break points, so they like to get after it on the break. Rebounds per game, they're a very good rebounding team. Offensive points per game, they're top 10 in that. They're top 10 in steals. They take care of the basketball. They don't turn it over. And they're top 10 in blocks because of the length that they have all over the court. Now, if you add Pascal Siakam for throughout his career has been maybe a 19, 20, 21 points per game score, I think that could only help. The only issue that I have is I agree with you. I don't know if the addition of Pascal Siakam will take away a little bit from Scottie Barnes offensively, but if Nick Nurse can somehow make them play in the same rotation together, make them get equal amount of touches, work around that barrier of a 20 points per game score is coming back, Scottie Barnes is going to take a hit offensively. I think if he can work that out, this team can be really, really good. The emergence of OG, like I said, he's been terrific on both sides of the ball. I just like this team, and with the addition of Scottie Barnes, would you guys call Toronto a young team still?
They are young.
Yeah, they're young.
With the additions of Scottie Barnes, I think that they're one of the best young cores in the NBA. And I think they have that experience from Fred VanVleet, people who've been there, Pascal. You mix it with the young guys, I think that this team is primed to have a really good season. Hopefully they keep it up. And my prediction is don't be surprised if they get to the playoffs and somehow upset one of these. Like, if they get to the 5 to 6 seed, don't be surprised if they can upset somebody.
Yeah, they're disciplined.
It bothered me when I saw how much mean comments we got on our last top 5 rookies videos from Raptors fans saying that my co-host didn't know anything about basketball because I picked Scottie as my number 1 rookie, but y'all picked Evan Mobley, but it was a close race. And it bothered me because these are the same Raptors fans that didn't want Scottie. These are the same Raptors fans that would have taken Evan Mobley 10 times out of 10 if it's between Evan Mobley and Scottie at the time of the draft. Neither here or there. Let's talk about the Raptors. I just wanted to get that off my chest. Pascal Siakam is going to be a great addition. He averaged 21, 7, and 4 last season. And I don't think Scottie's going to take a hit. I don't. And the guy who I think is going to really take a hit.
Gary Trent?
No, it's Precious. I'm benching
that's
Precious.
Obvious. That's obvious.
I'm benching Precious.
For sure. I mean, he got 18 minutes last game. It's like that's
but he's starting.
He's starting, but Siakam's gonna come in. Like
he averages 25 minutes per game.
No, I understand that, but he's only in that scenario or this situation because obviously Siakam's not there.
No, he's only in that situation because he's their only center outside of Kem Birch.
For sure.
And
Boucher, who's getting no burn.
Boucher's not a center.
I understand.
He's a wing. He's a forward wing.
Precious listed as a power forward as well, and he's still getting the start.
But he's a center. It's just he's undersized. If I'm the Raptors, if I'm Nick Nurse, Precious is getting benched. And Precious is getting benched because he can't shoot. He's not a good passer. He's a great energy hustle player like a Kenneth Faried. I've made that comparison dozens of times. But he gets lost on defensive rotations way too often. And I'd play Siakam at the 5. Like, why wouldn't I?
No doubt.
He's 6'9", 6'10". He's just as tall as Precious. He offers more spacing. You still get that defensive versatility. I'd start Siakam. I'd bench Precious.
No doubt.
And I'd probably take Precious minutes all the way and give him to Kem Birch and so he can still play the amount that he plays. I think the Raptors with Siakam, before the season, I called them a play-in playoff team. I'm still there. I don't think they'll be a top 5 seed in the East. I don't think they'll be one of the best teams in the East. I do think this is a team still growing that doesn't have a true star. Like, yeah, they have Siakam as an all-star. OG is growing into an all-star caliber player, but they don't have a true star. They don't have an RJ Barrett. They don't have Julius Randle on their team.
Level.
They don't have an RJ or Julius Randle on their team. And I know they're gonna come on here with these comments like, "Well, we beat the Knicks without Siakam and without I don't think Scottie played either.
He didn't.
But it doesn't matter. Knicks played down to the competition. You should know that. Knicks played down to the competition. It's evident as of right now in the regular season. But the Raptors are a playoff team. I think they're going to make the playoffs, especially when you see teams like Atlanta still trying to figure themselves out. They're struggling right now. I told you guys it was going to happen. Teams usually struggle after that conference finals appearance, but neither here or there. I would start Fred, Trent, OG, Scottie, Siakam. The thing about Scottie is I think he won't take much of a hit because he plays within the flow of the offense. Definitely. He doesn't rely on usage to get to where to get his baskets. A lot of his buckets are in transition, or in a half court set. I get the ball, mid-range pull-up, or they're putbacks on the roll. He rolls a lot, and he finishes like that. So I don't think it'll affect Scottie that much. I think this team is pretty much going to be similar to what they have already been, just have that extra scoring punch and defensive versatility with Siakam now in the lineup. And first game against the Nets, that's a huge test. He's going to be on a minutes restriction, but that's going to give us a glimpse of how they're going to look. Boucher, you're right. He's not getting much minutes because he is a player that doesn't fit the Raptors. I think he's probably going to get traded soon. We'll see to where, but interesting. It's going to be interesting to see where he does go.
And we'll really see what the Raptors are made of their next 3-game stretch. They play Brooklyn, they play Boston, and they play Philly. Obviously, people are down on Boston right now, but nevertheless, that's still a challenge. They obviously just handled Miami. Brooklyn is a primetime team in the East, still obviously championship contenders as long as you have Kevin Durant on your squad. And Philadelphia is number 1 in the East as it stands right now. So if you take 2 out of the 3 of those games, people got to start looking at the Raptors like they're the real deal. Mm-hmm. If they lose all 3 of these games, obviously, without a doubt, people are going to revert right back to their ways of just completely overlooking Toronto. But they take 2 out of the 3 here. I'm really taking note of the Raptors.
Overlooking Toronto how?
I'm overlooking in terms of before the season started, not many people were high on the Raptors. But now that they've won a bunch of games, people are really starting to be interested in what the Raptors have to offer and their squad as currently constructed. You go and you beat Brooklyn. You go and you beat the number 1 seeded Philadelphia 76ers. People really will start to say, okay, we can't sleep on the Raptors. Defensively, they're elite. Offensively, they're doing more than enough to win basketball games. And they beat 2 of the 3 primetime teams in the East. that's going to be something that gets respect for sure.
You mentioned the Raptors are a team that gets often overlooked. A team that gets overlooked a lot as well are the Minnesota Timberwolves because they usually aren't very good. Since their 3-1 start, they have lost 4 in a row to the Nuggets, to the Magic, to the Clippers twice at home. They haven't won a game at home yet. They're 0-5 at home, 3-5 in total. All of their losses have come at home. And on Twitter, Karl Anthony Towns liked a tweet that showed free cat. And then he said he was hacked. And he changed his Twitter password and said, we're all good over here. But one, do you believe that he was really hacked? And two, what do you think this means for Minnesota and their slow start? Do you think they'll figure it out? They're going on a road, a flurry of road games right now against some tough teams. So I don't know if they'll figure it out, but what do you think? I'll start with you, JC.
For starters, I don't believe him. I don't believe that he was hacked.
Question, he liked the tweet.
Yeah,
that's it.
He liked the tweet.
Yeah.
And that's all that he said, that's why he was hacked?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my
That's why I don't believe him. So
God.
I don't. So for that question, if I believe him or not, I don't believe him. But what I will say is, for the most part, I don't blame him. So far, I mean, it's pretty safe to say that. Well, I don't want to say it's safe to say, but it's pretty. It seems like it's trending in that direction where they won't be the 5th seed like Joel predicted. Maybe it won't even be the 8th seed or the playing team like I predicted. They've fallen off. We'll see if they could turn that around. But I mean, if you just look at this franchise history over the years, when Cat, when he was present as a player, his rookie year they went 16-66. The next year they followed 29-53. The year after that, 31-51. The next year they got Jimmy Butler. They had all that turmoil. Made the playoffs. Got gentlemen swept by your man James Harden. Next year, 36-46. 19-45. Last year, 23-49. And this year, 3-5. I feel like Karl Anthony Towns, as an NBA player, you get tired of like losing. You get tired of it. I mean, Minnesota's been an organization where they've dealt with this in the past with somebody like Kevin Garnett, who was a generational talent, one of the best power forwards ever. Difference between KG and Cat is KG took his team to the playoffs, would win a round or two, but the team was never constructed enough to win a championship. He ended up leaving, won a championship. When he won that championship, his career was viewed a little, differently. I think he should have won Finals MVP, but that's discussion for another day. But I feel like I can't help but think about that with Karl Anthony Towns. I mean, this is a guy from when he came into the NBA, won Rookie of the Year, and since then has been putting up all-star numbers. And he's a player that hasn't gotten the respect that he deserved because this team, this franchise, the history tells you it's not good. It's a losing franchise. This year, they're off to a 3-5 start. Like Joel alluded to, they're 0-5 at home. I feel like Karl Anthony Towns, in a way, is like, okay, I've been losing almost every year of my career here. I've only made the playoff once. I stunk it up in the playoffs. I'm not getting the respect I deserve, even though I'm putting up these phenomenal numbers. I need to get out of here. And I kind of agree with him. If you've been losing since you came into the league, you had that one playoff push with Jimmy Butler. The team broke up. You guys made it like you guys lost in 5 to Houston. No, it was no big deal because everybody picked Houston to win that series. But I kind of feel for him, and I agree with him. I've been a fan of Karl Anthony Towns' game. There's been times where I probably said some outlandish things saying that I thought, obviously it's not true now.
Say he was better than Jokic.
Before, I used to think he was better than Jokic offensively. Shooting wise, he's one of, if you look at the percentages, statistics, the threes he makes, he's one of the best shooters. He's one of the best big man shooters of all time. If you look at the percentages, so I don't blame him just because the track record of this team has been so bad. And this year, you're going into a season. D'Angelo Russell hasn't really been playing well. You guys are 0-5 at home. You guys lost 4 straight. You guys are 3-5. It's looking like it's trending in that same season, that same Minnesota season where, oh my God, we're not making the playoffs. We're going to lose. Probably another rebuilding year if they don't get their act together right. So I don't believe him. I believe that he probably liked that tweet. I believe that he didn't think people would probably go through his likes to search him liking those type of tweets. But I don't blame him. You look at the track record, look at all the games they've lost. You look at the amount of success that he's had with this franchise, with these players. It's really not a match made, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gets traded soon. I wouldn't get surprised if he requests a trade soon, just because, I mean, I just see this as like similar to a Kevin Garnett situation. Obviously, Garnett was winning more, but you have a talented big, and you guys don't really do anything with him. He's wasting the prime years of his career on this team. He's still pretty young. He wants to play winning basketball. In this league, you're remembered if you win. So I don't blame him. I think pretty soon Karl Anthony Towns is either going to request a trade or he's going to get traded.
I mean, Cat should be pissed off. And his last time having a winning season, only time having a winning season in the NBA was his 17-18 season. Minnesota won 47 games. You look at his teammates that he had at that time. Jimmy Butler, he's now on one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. Andrew Wiggins, he's now on one of the best teams in the Western Conference. Jeff Teague, who knows where he's at. But Taj Gibson's on the Knicks. He's in his hometown. He's loving it. You know, who doesn't like playing for the Knicks? Everybody does. Bielitsa came off the bench. He's with Wiggins in Golden State. Gorky Jang playing for Atlanta. Derrick Rose playing on the Knicks. Everybody on that 17-18 Minnesota team that was a pivotal part of their success now is in a great situation outside of Cat. Cat is in another rebuild, and I saw his post game after the loss to the Clippers, and he talked about how they have to get out of this losing streak funk because a 3-game, 4-game losing streak can easily turn into a 16-game losing streak, especially Minnesota. He said, I've been here long enough to know that it stretches out that far, and that's why we got to get a hold of it right now. I can't say anything bad about Cat. Like, I think what he, obviously he liked the tweet. I don't believe him one bit. He wasn't hacked. Everybody knows you're not. As an athlete, people are going through your like tweets all the time. That's why, even me, I'm not famous, but I keep, I make sure my like tweets are in pocket. My like tweets are, how can I say this?
You monitor them very closely.
Presentable to the public.
All right.
Right? I make sure they're presentable to the public. Cat is leading the Wolves in 4 or 5 statistical categories. He's having close to a 50. He's shooting 50% from the field, 40% from 3, averaging 23 and 9. The problem with the Wolves lies in the fact that defensively they're inconsistent, right? And Cat mentioned it that in all the games that they've lost, it's because they have let up in the second half defensively. Versus Orlando, when they lost against them, they gave up 43 points in the fourth quarter. Versus the Clippers, they gave up 45 in the third. Granted, when they faced the Clippers at home the last time they played them, they didn't give any 40-point, even 30-point quarters up. But offensively, they just couldn't get going in the third and fourth quarter. They scored 15 points and 12 points against the Clippers. They couldn't get it going. The biggest problem with the Timberwolves is D'Angelo Russell. He's their biggest problem. Not only because he can never stay on the court, but also he's not a point guard. They are trying to make him be a point guard, but he's not that. He's an inefficient, shot-chucking, volume scorer. He's averaging 14.8 points per game, 4.5 assists, 3.2 turnovers, shooting 36% from the field and 29% from 3. And right now, he has an ankle injury. He hasn't been playing these last couple of games. Patrick Beverley is averaging more assists than D'Lo. If you're a starting point guard, there's no way Pat Bev should be averaging more assists than you coming off the bench. That's just ridiculous. Anthony Edwards still has to be more efficient. And that 4 spot with Vanderbilt, McDaniels, they have to get a solid 4 that can be consistent every single night. I said this before and I'll say it again. The Wolves need to trade for Ben Simmons. And they need to trade D'Angelo Russell for him. That's it. Ben Simmons can solve Minnesota's problems. Defensively, he can solve them. Offensively, him being the point guard, facilitating the offense, he can do a great job in that and just setting the pace of the game up. D'Lo can't do that. He's a 2 guard in a point guard's body. He's not a point guard. Brooklyn got rid of him. Golden State got rid of him because he didn't fit there. Now Minnesota, they should get rid of him. He's not their guy. And if Minnesota doesn't fix this soon, I agree. Free Cat because he's stuck in a horrible situation.
Again.
And I hope they figure it out. But right now, it's not looking good because there are too many things you can pick apart that they don't do well.
So I'll get away with the obvious. Yes, he did not get hacked. It's simple as that. He definitely liked the tweet. Now on to the actual topic at hand. I don't want Karl Anthony Towns to leave. I think that Anthony Edwards, Karl Anthony Towns is a very great duo. But as Joel alluded to, they need a point guard. And D'Angelo Russell is not a point guard. And Karl Anthony Towns can only be so good. And the fact that he, this season, is third in usage rate on the Timberwolves right now is absolutely ridiculous. He's by far and away their best player. Anthony Edwards, yes, he is very great. He's averaging just under, I think, a point less than Karl Anthony Towns. But that being said, Karl Anthony Towns is, with all intents and purposes, their best player. It's inexcusable that he's third in usage rate. So I can understand where he has, or why he is frustrated. You mentioned the laundry list of losing seasons that the Timberwolves have had and that he's been a part of. I understand if I'm a guy like Anthony Davis who was fed up, tired of losing. He made the playoffs one time and I think he got past the first round, but then he did end up getting swept by Golden State. You get tired of losing eventually. Yes, you are the guy, and the responsibility lies on your shoulders, and you get the blame when you lose, but you get the blame when you win. And it's always so great when you win, but when it's few and far in between, you get tired of hearing the noise, truthfully. So it makes sense for Karl Anthony Towns to leave because, like you mentioned, also, all those guys that was on that 17-18 roster are gone and on a different unit now and are having success elsewhere. And you still have Karl Anthony Towns in Minnesota that's struggling to make the play-in now that it's been enforced. I think that Karl Anthony Towns needs to stick it out because I do believe Anthony Edwards and him are a very dynamic duo in the terms of both of them can shoot very efficiently. You don't have it very often where you have your big man being a 40% three-point shooter, but also is defensively more than solid, more than capable of holding his own. This year, at least, for sure. I look at Anthony Edwards and his dynamic, what he brings. He's able to shoot the basketball at a high clip. He could be a little bit more efficient for sure, like you alluded to.
Way more efficient.
But nevertheless, still aggressive, still has the confidence within himself to still go get a bucket, never shies away from the moment, that one piece away. And it's a point guard. And that Ben Simmons scenario that you mentioned is absolutely perfect because Ben Simmons is that guy, that missing piece defensively. They need a defensive player. And Patrick Beverley is a short Ben Simmons, essentially. But they can shoot the ball a little bit better for sure. But he's not that type of facilitator that Ben Simmons is. They need a real, true point guard. And right now, D'Angelo Russell, you can't really count on him regardless of when he's on the court. Sure, he's D'Angelo Russell and he's a great scorer.
And this year he hasn't been.
This year he's been very mediocre. And he's not the best facilitator of the basketball. You need to bring in a guy. Ben Simmons is asking a lot because obviously Ben Simmons is an all-NBA type player, one of the better point guards in our league. So you put him on a team like this with with Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns. Obviously, that makes them insane. But they just need to go and realize, come trade deadline, listen, we need an actual point guard that's going to get the ball and put Anthony Edwards in good positions to score. We're going to need a point guard that's going to put Karl Anthony Towns in good positions to score the basketball. Until they do so, they're going to continue to lose.
I actually heard that the reason that trade might not get done is because Daryl Morey doesn't want D'Lo.
Who wants D'Lo right now? You can't trust him. You can't rely on him to be on the court. And when he's on the court, you don't know what D'Lo you're getting. Sure, we've seen what D'Lo can be when he's hitting on all cylinders. But when was the last time we saw that?
2018 in Brooklyn.
It's been a minute. So right now, if I'm Daryl Morey, I'm not looking at D'Angelo Russell as someone that I want right now. You're gonna have to be giving me a slew of draft picks and Malik Beasley for me to want to be interested in D'Lo right now.
Malik Beasley is another guy. He's been mid this year too. He has to play better. He played better last game, but he has to be consistent. Right now, he's shooting under 40% from the field. He has to be better. And, Karl Anthony Towns, he's losing in Minnesota, but somewhere that I think he probably win is DraftKings. DraftKings, the NBA is back in that DraftKings Sportsbook, an authorized sports betting partner of the NBA. Karl Anthony Towns could create a great lineup and win some money.
A lot of money.
You can bet $5 and then you can win $200 in free bets if you bet $5. DraftKings Sportsbook customers can also get skin in the game with new same game parlays. So maybe Cat is thinking about betting on his own game, Minnesota. he'd bet 20 plus
Kevin
on
Garnett.
himself.
Okay.
Maybe bet on Edwards to hit 3+ threes. He could do that, I think so. And D'Lo, probably bet on him to get, over 2 assists. I don't know. It could be somewhere around there because he's not much of a passer.
On points.
But you can combine multiple bets from the same game for a bigger payout. The more legs you add, the more money you can win because the odds get slimmer and slimmer the more you add,
That's
obviously.
Yep.
DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. And best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code TBPN. Bet just $5 on any NBA team to win their game and win $200 in free bets. If you win, they win with promo code TBPN this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an authorized sports betting partner of the NBA. Timberwolves taking a lot of losses right now. Cade is a part of them. If he wants to start getting some wins, go to DraftKings Sportsbook. Get some wins.
Start betting
Feel
against
better
Minnesota.
about yourself.
Yeah.
Bet against Minnesota. Money line on the other team. This road stretch, they've been winning on the road, but now they got some good teams coming up. So, definitely put the money line on those other teams if they're playing Minnesota, especially if D'Lo is not playing.
Yeah, rough stretch of games. They got Memphis, Golden State, Los Angeles, both Los Angeles teams, Lakers and Clippers, Phoenix, and Sacramento, who's been playing very great as of late.
Marcus Smart. He called out Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum the other day after they lost to Chicago because they blew a double-digit lead in the fourth quarter. And the quote is as goes. I would just like to play basketball. Every team knows we're trying to go to Jayson and Jaylen. Every team is programmed and studied to stop Jayson and Jaylen. I think everybody's scouting report is to make those guys pass the ball. They don't want to pass the ball. That's something they're going to learn. They're still learning. We're proud of the progress they're making, but they're going to have to take another step and find ways to not only create for themselves, but create for others on this team to open up the court for them. Later down in the game, where they're always going to have to take those tough shots or take tough matchups when they get those one-on-one matchups or they bring a trap, is something we've been asking them to do when they're learning. We just got to contribute to help those guys do that to help our team. So Smart called them out. Then they had a players-only meeting before they played Orlando. They beat Orlando, and just as recently, they beat Miami, a very commanding win against Miami as well. And Woj said that the meeting was emotional at times, but in the end, perhaps not a terribly productive meeting and maybe not even beneficial. So the meeting they had wasn't beneficial, so I don't know if we can credit the Celtics playing better because of this, at least based on this Woj report.
I'm not looking into that.
And Jaylen Brown also spoke on it and said that he didn't think it needed to be said. So he, basically said, Marcus Smart, we ain't really need that.
Because he's being singled out, obviously.
But since then, before those comments, Marcus Smart said the Celtics allowed 120 points per game. Since those comments, they held Orlando to 79 and Miami to 78. And versus Orlando, Boston held them to 32% from the field, 21% from three, versus Miami, 35% from the field and 22% from three. So do you think these comments help Boston play better? And are you now buying some stock into Boston moving forward?
I think that this is exactly what they needed. Marcus Smart, what I said from day one when they re-signed him, was that you need a locker room presence. He is so essential to keeping this team together because of what he means in the locker room and just the small intangibles that he brings to the court. He's going to play hard every single time he's on the court. That tough, hard-nosed type player, that's Marcus Smart. And obviously he isn't the most skillful player, but you need a player that is going to bring hustle night in, night out. And you can't rely on Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown to bring that hustle every night, but you can rely on Marcus Smart 82 games of the season to do that. And in terms of leadership, as great as Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum are, they're not true leaders. I don't look at Jayson Tatum, I don't look at Jaylen Brown right now and look at them as team captains. That's Marcus Smart. And whether Jaylen Brown or Jayson Tatum like it or not, they needed someone to tell them, listen, you guys are all-stars, you guys are all-world, get it together. It's bigger than just you two. If we want to win, we got to do it as a unit. And Jaylen Brown, obviously, he suffered that injury against Miami, and that definitely hurts because Jaylen Brown has been absolutely eating. But Jayson Tatum has been very, very spotty up until this at least up until this point in the season, averaging only 22 points per game. His efficiencies are all over the place. He's going to get it together eventually, but their struggles are due to his struggles as well. Because if Jayson Tatum is cooking, this isn't even a question. They're going to obviously win more games than they have been. But they needed that locker room talk because defensively they have been liabilities every single night that they've played, other than these last 2 nights that they actually had post this conference with one another. They could say that, or Woj's report saying that it wasn't really beneficial, and Jaylen Brown coming out and saying that, they really didn't have to be said because that's one of the guys in question. Jayson Tatum probably knows, listen, I'm not the best facilitator. I know that. But you look at Giannis, and Giannis shouldn't be one of the best facilitators on his team, but he is because he knows that he's going to get trapped every single time he gets that ball in the paint. He needs to make the smart decision and see the guy in the wing, see the open guy. Because when you're the best player, you draw the most attention. And all that means is that there's going to be someone open. 9 times out of 10, if I'm Jayson Tatum or I'm Jaylen Brown and I have 25 points in a game, no duh, it's not a question that I'm going to draw a double team. See the open guy. Jaylen Brown averaging 2.5 assists is not going to get it done. Jayson Tatum averaging under 4 assists is not going to get it done. They need to start seeing the guys, and I can understand where they could doubt their players because outside of Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum, Al Horford, I'll give him his respect. He's been playing excellent, especially at this point in time in his career. Averaging 13 and 10 is more than firm. 3 blocks a game has been incredible. Dennis Schroeder averaging 13.3. He's been good because facilitating the basketball, he's been very a key piece to their offense, averaging 6 assists a game. And obviously, you have Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown. It's going to be easy to get those assists. But he's giving them a spark that they need because Marcus Smart, as much of a hustle player he is, as great as he is defensively, he's not a true point guard. And Dennis Schroeder, at least, has done that for them. Marcus Smart, he may not be the best. Like I said, his numbers don't show that he's been stellar up until this point, 8.8 points per game.
He hasn't been good.
He hasn't been good at all. He's been very spotty. But you need still to have that type of presence in the locker room, regardless of where it's coming from. There's a reason Udonis Haslem still has a spot on that Heat roster because he's in the locker room. People look to him as someone that they could go to for knowledge, go to for any type of thing in the game of outside of skill. Just you need someone to hold you accountable, and that's Marcus Smart. And so I don't mind these comments at all because clearly something happened that sparked them to have a change in their game, and I'm in on them. I think that this is going to spark a change because we haven't even seen Jayson Tatum be Jayson Tatum yet.
So the reports were that the meeting didn't help, but I mean, as of recently, the last 2 games, obviously it's not a big stretch. They're 2-0. They played great defense. They held down Miami, which I think was a very impressive win. I think that was a statement win for Boston. I think that's a win that they can build off of because they beat probably, in my opinion, a top 5 team in the NBA. But I agree with Drew. Jayson Tatum needs to step up. Jayson Tatum this year is averaging 22.7 points per game on 37% field goal shooting percentage, shooting 27% from the 3, shooting 74% from the free throw line, and his EFG percentage is 42%. I checked all of those. Those are all career lows, even dating back to his rookie season. So even his rookie season, he was way more efficient than he is now. So I think this team will get better, start to take off when Jayson Tatum plays better. I mean, I'm not gonna expect Jayson Tatum to play this bad. This is a guy who I think I thought coming into this year he was gonna make a statement and be a top 10 player. Obviously, that hasn't been the case now. I still think Jayson Tatum's gonna turn this around. But another thing that's holding this Boston team back, me and Joel talked about it a while ago, and I actually agree with him. They don't have a true playmaker. They don't have a guy that can set these 2 scoring, score first players up. Marcus Smart, we can all attest to this. He's not a true playmaker. Even Dennis Schroeder, I know he's averaging 6 assists per game, but he's not a true playmaker. He's not somebody that's going to get you in your sets. He's more of a score-first player. That's what he's been throughout for most of his career. So, I think that the bad play stems on Jayson Tatum's shooting percentage. The good thing about it all, though, is the last 2 games, Jayson Tatum hasn't been playing well, but they have won. They have won 2 impressive wins. They played great defensively. If Jayson Tatum can get you his 27, 28 points per game that he was getting you last year on pretty good efficiency, along with the defensive effort that this team's giving you, I think that this team is much better than a 4-5 record. I think this is a team that can go anywhere from the 6 to 5 seed if everything's clicking on all cylinders. I would like to see them during the trade deadline make a trade for a traditional point guard, maybe like a Ricky Rubio, somebody who can run the sets. But I think this team right now, off that players meeting is 2-0. They're playing defense. I think they have a game tonight against Dallas. Let's see how they come out against Dallas. But I think this team is trending towards the right path. That players only meeting has them playing defense. I would like to see Jayson Tatum step up. He's better than these percentages. He's better than these averages. We all know he is. He's an all-star. We all consider him a superstar. Jaylen Brown's playing well. Al Horford's kind of had like a little revival in his career, averaging 14 points, 10 rebounds. He's leading the NBA in blocks, so he's playing well. So all these issues on offense just stem on Jayson Tatum. I would like to see him become a little bit of a better playmaker and more efficient, and then we'll see where that takes them. And, hopefully during the trade deadline, they can make a trade for a point guard that can set up these guys. If they have a playmaker, if they're playing defense and Tatum's playing better, this team can be a really good team.
And real quick, no JB tonight.
No.
So we'll see Jayson Tatum if he actually, if it's Jaylen Brown getting more opportunities and that's the reason why he's been struggling. We'll see that tonight. If Jayson Tatum's, Jayson Tatum that we think he is, let him prove it tonight.
Yeah.
Well, Jayson Tatum has career lows across the board because this is the curse of the Laker. He wore Lakers gear. As a Boston Celtic, that's almost a sin. That's as bad as a sin. So because of that, Jayson Tatum, the basketball guys are punishing him for doing such a heinous act and crime.
Stop it.
You can't wear a Lakers jersey as a Boston Celtic. It doesn't matter. You can't wear a Lakers jersey as a Boston Celtic. That's the biggest rivalry in basketball. So the basketball guys are having Jayson Tatum shoot poorly for a stretch of games. We'll see if he picks it up, but that's why he's playing bad. Marcus Smart speaking out to the media is like that meme you see where it's like, worst person just made an excellent point. That's Marcus Smart because he's right. He's 100% right in what he's saying. Not in that instance. Versus the Bulls, Tatum and Brown passed the ball. They missed. Marcus Smart missed. They had open looks. They missed. Then Smart alluded to how he alluded to the fact that he can do more with the ball in his hands. He wants opportunities. He basically talked about how he can play make.
He capped.
No, you can't. Because we see you. When the ball is in your hands, you do nothing with it. You don't assist. You create more turnovers than anything. You shot chuck. You're just like these guys, but not as good. Because Marcus Smart wants to be like Tatum. He wants to be like Brown. He wants to be good enough to where he can hoist up 28 shots a game and not get any pushback. But he can't because he's not that good. He's not that good offensively. And defensively this season, he hasn't been that great. I don't know if this players only meeting helped them. Maybe they played better because they were pissed off at each other and they just had to get it out some way, somehow. But defensively versus the Heat, watching their defense,
Tatum,
close to perfect. It was picture perfect, actually. Al Horford, his switches onto perimeter, he's been amazing. Robert Williams, his defense on perimeter has been amazing. They were clicking, they were rotating, they were all in sync, communicating with each other. I told you guys last episode I was all out on the Celtics. I still am. I don't feel like, maybe they'll figure out how to make the playoffs. Maybe they'll do that. If you're betting on Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown, you obviously are going to take that route. Are they going to do anything? No. They're not going to do anything because there are still holes on this roster that need to be fixed. Schroeder is inconsistent. You can't really trust that bench. Marcus Smart is not a point guard. They need a true point guard, and they don't have one. And Jaylen Brown already injured again. Who knows how long that's going to linger. And now with the basketball gods curse on Jayson Tatum, who knows how that's going to go because the basketball guys dictate what they're going to do. It's not up to us. It's not up to Tatum. He's going to play how he's going to play. I'm still out on the Celtics. Maybe they make the playoffs. Who knows? But I think Marcus Smart calling them out was probably needed because they were playing like complete garbage. Ime Udoka, who knows how he's as a coach. He's trying to get to these players. He's doing the best he can, but it feels like these players just aren't receptive. He's been coaching them tough. And some players like being coached tough, some don't. You can only really tell if you're in that locker room. I just don't get a great feeling about the Boston Celtics. Yes, they just won 2 games against the Heat, very good team, and then Orlando, not that impressive. We'll see if they can keep it up. But I'm still not all in on the Celtics. I just feel like there's something about them that is making me push back on them. I'm just not a fan right now.
I just think that once Jayson Tatum cooks up, I think it'll be a lot easier to get on that Celtics bandwagon.
Possibly so. But
I can understand, obviously, Jayson Tatum's
he's been horrendous.
Horrific in terms of us reviewing the normal Jayson Tatum that we've become accustomed to. But I don't see him continuing these terrible low efficiencies. I actually have another question. Do you think the change of the basketball has an impact on these players?
It definitely does. Yeah. It's a different basketball.
Yeah.
It's been crazy to see how obviously there's still
George
players.
Said something about it the other day.
What is it? Is it something about like the weight of the basketball?
They're saying it's more slippery. That's why you see a lot of shots get like more air balls. That's what Paul George said. You see a lot of shots missing left, right, because the balls, it's just more slippery. It doesn't have as much grip as the last basketball.
It's a Wilson basketball now?
Yeah.
Why did they suddenly change it?
No clue.
Sponsorship deals, probably more money. You never know.
They need to get an Evo up there.
I feel like a Wilson basketball, like that's been high school regulation, college to a degree now too.
Honestly, I've
only seen.
I've had a Spalding official NBA ball before. I don't like how they feel.
I've never had one. I feel like I can never find one.
I've had one. I don't like how they feel. I like Wilson's, like Evo's way better.
Evos are the best basketballs.
Evos are the best basketball.
I love Evos. That being said, it's kind of crazy to me that we're seeing.
But they don't use Evos.
No, they don't. They
don't use Evos.
It's really impacting their shots, and I'm surprised, to be honest with you. I mean, they're NBA basketball players. You'd think that they would pick up any type of ball and still be able to hoop, but we're seeing it really impact them.
Yeah, Tatum, not RJ.
Tatum.
And we talked about early in the episode how the Raptors don't have a true star like a Randall or RJ. This season, we're seeing RJ Barrett take that third-year leap. The leap that I thought he was going to take all along. I pushed back on it a little bit because I saw how he was being used the first couple of games, and I couldn't believe it. We were winning, so I didn't care that much. But now, RJ, this is the first time in his career where he's had 5 straight games where he has had 20 points or more. 20 against the Bulls, 35 against the Pelicans, 27 against the Raptors, 23 against the Pacers, and 20 against the Bucks. He's averaging 19.2 points per game, 5.8 rebounds per game, 2.7 assists, shooting 47% from the field and 40% from 3. The Knicks are 3-2 in those games. They have lost to the Raptors and Pacers. Like I said, the Knicks played down to their competition, and the question is RJ's increased offensive role hurting or helping the Knicks? And in my opinion, it's helping. It can only help them. I know we're 3-2 in those games where RJ has gone off, but the reason for that is because the Knicks played down to their competition. I don't know what it is, but they just played down to the competition versus Orlando, versus the Pacers. We lost those games at the Garden, at home. Defensively, our energy isn't there. Randall, it feels like when he's not in the offense as much as he usually is, he's disinterested on defense and on offense. He kind of shrugs, and you can see the body language, and it's kind of contagious. The Knicks this year have the second best offensive rating, the 21st worst defensive rating, the 8th best net rating. Kemba Walker, we know he's not a good defender. And I think the addition of him is making the team having to make up for him, right? Because the defensive scheme isn't as sound because these defenders aren't as good. I think Fournier has been giving fantastic effort. But teams hunt down Kemba and Randall. They put them in pick-and-roll situations. They hunt them down, and they get picked apart. Randall has not been that good of a defender this year as well. You know, if it wasn't for this big-time game against the Bucks where he had 30+, I'm talking about Randall completely differently today. But because he went off against them, I got to ease down. Even though in that game, I think Derrick Rose was a hero in that game. He was the reason we won that game. Like, I'm just going to say that straight right now.
Absolutely.
But the Knicks have to get better defensively, and I think they will because Tom Thibodeau is our coach. He's a defensive mastermind and genius. We have to stop playing down to our competition because like Tibbs said, every team in the East is damn good. We can't take an off night against Cleveland. We can't take an off night against Indiana, against Toronto. We have to bring our A game every single night, and I think that's something that the Knicks aren't doing right now. But once we figure it out, we'll be fine. We'll be one of those top teams in the Eastern Conference, and there's still a lot of things wrong, right? Kemba, Julius getting attacked on the pick and roll. Emmanuel quickly hasn't shot well at all this season, but we'll figure it out. And RJ Barrett improving this year and taking that third-year leap is only going to make our ceiling that much higher. I'm glad that I'm sitting here talking about RJ averaging close to 20 instead of Kemba averaging close to 20 or Kemba averaging Fournier averaging close to 20. I'm glad it's RJ because I told y'all he's a star in the making. He's going to be a star. There's no doubt about it. Number 9, going to get his jersey. We're going to the Knicks at Next in Barclays. I'm wearing RJ's shirt out there. You know how it is. RJ Barrett all day. He's my guy.
So I want to say it's a good and bad thing. I want to say it's a bad thing because you mentioned it. Their defensive rating has been sketchy this season at least. And I say it's a bad thing because I don't want RJ using all his energy on offense and coming back defensively. And obviously RJ is still amazing defensively, but he won't have that same drive that he would normally if he just has to focus on the defensive side of the ball. And we saw earlier in the season when he just focused primarily on defense, they were having success and they were winning games. So that's why I say it's a bad thing. Now, for the obvious reason why it's a good thing, you drafted RJ Barrett, number 3, to be the franchise-changing player that you guys were hoping he would be. And that breakout game, 36 points, what more could you have asked for, truthfully? That's just everything that Knicks fans have been dying to see from RJ Barrett, and he was phenomenal, and he's been phenomenal these last stretch of games. You want to see RJ improve his jump shot. You want to see RJ start taking it to that right hand. You want to see RJ start being aggressive, driving the basketball to the hoop, not being afraid to go to the line. Once he starts getting that confidence, then it'll be a much more seamless transition of, all right, I'm gonna still be the same defensive beast that I know that I am, one of the better defenders in the NBA, probably the best defender on my team, and still be able to go and get you 20 points per game. Because when you're drafting number 3, you still have that expectation on you. And Knicks fans are cutthroat. They want to see these guys that they draft at such a high position be the superstar players that we see other teams draft highly and still go and average 24 or 25 points per game. RJ Barrett, if he's going to continue to improve that jump shot, I do believe he could average 20 clean a season. We saw it last season. What did he average? 18 points per game, and that was without a consistent jumper and still a shaky right hand. Once he starts to become more confident in that right hand, once he starts to put the ball on the ground consistently, we'll start to see this RJ Barrett that we've been seeing these last stretch of games. And that's only going to benefit the Knicks. Because right now you look at it as stands. They have Julius Randle, who's averaging 21 points per game. You have RJ averaging just under 20. Then after that, you have Fournier averaging 15. D-Rose averaging 12. Kemba averaging 12. And after that, Alec Burks averaging 7. They need this offensive output. And it's a shame that it's going to cost RJ a little bit defensively. But as of right now, you need the offense. So why not just let RJ, if he's going to be hot, keep riding the hot hand. You got to at this point at least, and it's only going to help his confidence.
You're making good points, but I don't like that point you made about RJ not being as invested on the defense side of the ball.
Okay.
RJ is a dog.
He is.
He's going to be invested on both sides.
Same. We don't want him to get a little bit tired.
RJ,
he's got a lot to put on his shoulders.
He don't get tired.
Right.
It's RJ Barrett.
Okay, fair
enough. He don't get tired.
Are you gonna be Riv and hate on RJ Barrett?
I think RJ Barrett's a pretty good player. I think that it's acceptable for him to be the second scoring option. I mean, he was a number 3 overall pick. Obviously, right now, Julius Randle's coming off that All-NBA season. It's his team. He's still the best player on the team. But like I said, I think for this team to go to the next level, you need RJ Barrett to give you 19-20 a game. The defense has been incredible this year. And about that shooting point, RJ Barrett shot 40% from the 3 last year too. So he was a good shooter last year too. He's shooting what's his percentage from 3?
40% from 3.
So he's continuing that. I don't think it's taken away from the Knicks offense. I agree with you. I mean, they lost to the Raptors, they lost to the Magic. It's playing down to the competition. The Knicks are a good team. But I agree with you. It's better having RJ Barrett average at 19-20 points per game than it is for Evan Fournier, than it is for Kemba Walker, because then that would mean that they're exceeding their roles that I think was assigned for them. I think this team is built for Julius Randle to be the number 1 guy. but this team is built for RJ Barrett to be the second option. And the reason I like those acquisitions in the offseason with Kemba and Evan Fournier is because if RJ Barrett is playing at that level and you got Evan Fournier giving you 16, you got Kemba giving you 12, you got Derrick Rose giving you anywhere from 12 to 15 off the bench, this team's really dangerous on all aspects of basketball, defensively, offensively. I'm not really worried about the defensive rating in their rankings right now. Tom Thibodeau is a defensive guru, one of the best defensive coaches that this game has seen. I think the Knicks will turn it around. But, I like the fact that RJ Barrett is definitely averaging 20 points per game this year. I think if this team, like I said, wants to be good, he has to continue that. I want to see this scoring output along with defense into the playoffs. I want to see what this is going to do for the Knicks, because last year he was an inconsistent second option in the playoffs, and it showed. The Knicks couldn't really get anything going offensively with Julius Randle and RJ Barrett. First time for RJ Barrett in the playoffs. I think this year coming in, he's going to be much different. I like the fact that he's been improved defensively. I've been watching him defensively this season. He's absolutely locked in. He's young enough and has enough energy that I think he can give you 20 points per game and still lock in on the defensive end. I'm not really worried about that, but like I said, I agree. I like RJ Barrett being the second scorer of this team. It's fitting for him. He's the second best player on this team. Second best player. You want him to give you that 19, 20 points per game. You want him to be the second scorer behind Julius Randle. So I like that RJ Barrett's been defensively this season has been amazing. Offensively, he's getting better. His 3-point percentage is staying around 40%. So that means that's becoming a consistent part of his game. So I think the Knicks will be fine. I agree with you, Joel. I think RJ Barrett being that second scoring option is going to benefit the Knicks.
We beat the Bucks. I'm not too gassed about it because Middleton was out, Lopez was out, Drew Holiday was on a minutes restriction. I'm not too gassed about it. Whatever. It is 20. What it is.
Yeah, you got to be gassed about the comeback. The comeback was amazing. I'm gassed about the comeback, definitely, and I'm gassed that we beat another, I guess, solid team in the East because they still had Giannis. Giannis is still an MVP player. We know that. RJ Barrett has improved this game so much. Coming out of college, can't shoot. Shooting 40% from three right now. The next step in his game was to not only become an all-world defender, become a better ball handler, a passer, and create more off the dribble. RJ Barrett has been really good off the dribble this season.
Mm-hmm. He has been.
He can create for himself now. It's fluid. You see these step backs, these side steps. Drew Hamlin, his trainer, he said that RJ Barrett is the only player he's seen that's made such a drastic improvement in their shooting percentage, 3-point percentage from one year to the next. RJ Barrett. The reason for that is because RJ is a lion. He's a hard worker. And he's not going to back down from any challenge. And that's just, it is what it is.
He talks like he knows this guy.
No. I'm laughing because I love the analogies. I love the quote. That was fire.
RJ's not backing down for nobody. He wants to be the king. And he's going to be the king in New York eventually. Right now, it's King Julius Randle. Like you said, it's his team.
No.
But RJ is getting better off the dribble. Next step is to get a better handle. He's going to do that. He's going to add to his game. That right hand, I've been seeing it this year.
Yeah, me too.
I think he's good enough with his right hand. He could cook with it. I think. He's that good this year. So RJ Barrett, we're gonna talk about players in the most improved player category in these upcoming topics. But RJ is definitely up there. He's probably not one of the favorites to win the awards because we have Ja and Bridges and even Hero and Cole Anthony doing their thing. But RJ deserves a lot of credit. And like I said, he's been the most disrespected player in the league for a while, being left off all these lists. He's just silencing his doubters. He was the first ranked player in the country out of high school for a reason.
Over Zion.
Yeah, he was a third overall pick for a reason. He's RJ Barrett. He gonna do his thing. And the Knicks gonna do their thing as well. Nothing. I tweeted this before. Nothing to me feels better than a Knicks win and an RJ Barrett great performance. Nothing. Because nobody can tell me anything. If the Knicks win, but RJ, has like 12, now it's, RJ only had 12. If the Knicks win and RJ does great, you can't say nothing.
Yeah, nah,
I'm like Kanye West, you can't tell me nothing. I'm doing my thing. Miles Bridges, we talked about most improved player. We're about to talk about it. Miles Bridges is a player that everybody is putting in the most improved player favorite category right now because he's made a drastic jump. This year, he's averaging 22.7 points per game, Last year, it was at 12.7. He's at a 10-point jump right now. His efficiency isn't as good as last season's, but from everything from points to rebounds to assists, he's up that this season. Do you think as of right now he is the most improved player, the runaway most improved player, or do you think it's somebody else? I'll start with you, JC.
If you look at the statistics, the point jumps, it's pretty safe to say that he is the runaway player. I mean, like you said, last year he was averaging 12. He's giving you 23 a game this year, 22.7. I rounded it up. He's better and in all aspects of basketball statistically as well. The other day I was watching him when he was playing the Nets, and I was thinking of that old Miles Bridges, that guy that's gonna give you 10, 12. Wasn't thinking much of it. Then he lights us up for like 34 points per game, hitting ridiculous step back shots, 3-pointers, and I'm like, yo, this kid led every scorer on the basketball, or scored more than Kevin Durant. I'm like, yo, this kid has gotten much better. Like I thought that shooting was an inconsistent part of his game. Obviously, you said the percentages are down, but I mean, he's just across the board, he's gotten much better. I think he's a big part for Charlotte right now, being 5-5. Granted, they've been tailing off a little bit, but yeah, I mean, if just as a viewer, you can see that his jump shot's gotten better. He's gotten more efficient. He's starting to hit pull-up jump shots now. He's always been good at attacking the rim. Defensively, he's been okay too. So, in all aspects of his game, he's improved. And that 10 points per game improvement, I mean, that screams most improved player. If you're somebody who's going from averaging 12 to now 23 points per game, your team's pretty much winning. You guys are 5-5 right now. People, we view you as a good team. I think it's safe to say that, he is number one right now for the most improved player of the year. Do I think that he's the runaway, like he's going to win it? No, I think there's other players, that you have to look into. Tyler Herro's looking really good this year. He would probably be my secondary candidate. And it's just other players across the association that have stepped up in their game. But right now, it's safe to say 10 games into the season that he's number one right now. But I'm not opposed to somebody else coming and taking that crown away from him. But right now, I do think that he's improved in all aspects of his game. And I think right now he should be number one.
So he probably is number one right now, but runaway is probably strong for me personally.
Yeah.
I'm not sleeping on Jordan Poole. If Jordan Poole continues to be this shooter, be this defensive prowess player that he has been these last few games, it's not out of the realm of possibility that he gets that most improved player, especially if Golden State's the number one seed in the Western Conference. That's going to play a huge part in it as well. I also look at OG Anunoby. OG Anunoby's up 6 points per game from last season. His percentages are down because he's taking a lot more shots. I think he was at 48% last year. I think he's at 41 now, which is definitely a drop, but we've seen an improvement in his game as well. Miles Bridges has been excellent. As you mentioned, Tyler Herro has been excellent as well. I just think that it's not a lock because we've seen some iffy games out of Miles Bridges. Yeah. We've seen a 10-point performance last game against Sacramento. Sacramento is good defensively, at least this season. Against Golden State, he lit them up, 32 points. He was excellent. Against Cleveland, 13 points. It's just been a bunch of inconsistent spots where that's why I look at a guy like Jordan Poole, and look at a guy like OG Anunoby and think that it's not a dead lock for him to win, even though the jump that he's made, 10 points per game, you add that to your game, that's not something that can be ignored by any means. And especially if he brings his team or is a key part in bringing his team to the playoffs, because obviously I look at LaMelo as the best player on the Hornets, and he'll be the one to lead them. But he could be right there alongside LaMelo and get I wouldn't say as much credit because that's never going to happen, especially with the superstardom that LaMelo has. But he'll get his just due in terms of respect. But again, if Jordan Poole's team is the number one seed in the West and they keep this defensive rating, and it would be in part due to Jordan Poole's excellent defense as well, and he continues to improve his jump shot and continues to improve his efficiency, it's possible that he could secure that.
Oh.
I'm actually surprised that you guys...
Wait, I was going to say... Let me give my just due to Harrison Barnes because he's been incredible this year. I completely forgot about him. He was on my notes. He's been outstanding this year. That's all I had to say. He's another one that can contest that award.
I'm actually surprised you guys think Bridges is one because I don't. And I don't think he's won at all.
RJ Barrett?
It's not RJ Barrett.
Wow.
And I can't believe you guys didn't mention him because in the midst of you talking about Bridges and Hero, and then you talking about Poole, and then OG. What about Ja Morant? Ja Morant is, in my opinion, the most improved player favorite.
I think people saw him as a superstar already.
Last year he averaged 19, 4, and 7. This year it's 25, 6, and 7. Shooting 49% from the field, 35% from the three. 4 percentage jump in field goal percentage and 5% jump in 3-point percentage. And when we're talking about keeping it up,
he's kept it up.
Miles Bridges, he has to compete with LaMelo and Gordon Hayward and Rozier on a nightly basis for that scoring punch. Morant doesn't. Jonas is not there no more. It's Steven Adams who, as a really good passing big man, has elevated the Grizzlies' offense, because this is something people don't understand. If a player can shoot, yes, he offers spacing. If a center can shoot, he offers spacing. If a center can pass, he also offers spacing. Just because Steven Adams is not a shooter doesn't mean he doesn't offer spacing.
So what does he offer?
He offers spacing because
he can pass.
Because he can pass.
Oh, okay. So you're saying, okay.
Passing big men offer you spacing because they can open up lanes for players. Ja Morant can keep this up. I don't know how long Dylan Brooks is out, but even when he comes back, Jaren Jackson,
iffy.
He's showing us that he's probably not that guy. Like
he's had some moments, but I agree.
He's a good role player. He can fill into some spots, but in terms of being an all-star or one of the better players at his position,
you're right.
I don't know if Jaren Jackson's going to be that. Ja Morant has shown us he can take a team to the playoffs. Memphis is playing really well right now. I think Memphis is getting into the playoffs. If Ja averages 25 for the season with his 7 assists and 6 rebounds, Memphis makes the playoffs. I don't see how Miles Bridges wins this award. I understand the 10-point jump, but Ja Morant has went up 6 points, and efficiency's better, rebounds are better, and his team is winning more as well. I think if it's not Miles Bridges, it's Ja Morant. If it's not Ja Morant, it's Miles Bridges. I really don't see anybody that's coming close to that. Harrison Barnes.
Yeah, wait. What do you feel about Harrison Barnes? He's been playing pretty well this year.
I honestly feel like he's not going to play like that.
Okay.
And
fair enough.
Sleeping on Harrison. Harrison's nice.
No, but can he get credit for balling out so far?
He's balling out so far. The reason why
he balled last season.
The reason why I haven't been invested into Harrison Barnes and I haven't really thought about him twice when thinking about this award or even when thinking about praising him is because I don't think he's going to keep it up.
Okay,
I think this is a TJ Warren bubble saga stage for Barnes. He's going to do this for like 15, 20 games. Then he's going to come back down to earth. That's what
we'll
he's going to
revisit that.
And then at the end of the year, we're going to see Barnes averaging 17, 18 a game.
His regular?
That's what he's been. And I told y'all before the season, baby. Is there a scenario where Jeremy Grant is not averaging that 24 that he averaged a year previous?
Oh my God, he is god-awful this
Jeremy
year.
Grant has really dropped down.
Oh my goodness.
This season. And I told y'all there's a possibility he does that.
Drew, he was 0 for 9 against the Nets yesterday. He didn't make a shot. He was 0 for 9. It was, oh my God, it was so bad.
Let me ask you this. Ja Morant's been all-world. He's been excellent. Is that points per game carried by his early performance in the beginning of the season?
It definitely is.
He laid a stinker last game.
But Bridges has multiple 30-point games.
I don't disagree at all. But the fact that he's jumped 10 points per game, he's on Charlotte. Obviously, they're not a primetime team. He has been a key contributor to their success.
So far.
I just think that Ja Morant, the voters are going to know, listen, we already have seen Ja Morant. We know what Ja Morant is. This wouldn't be, I guess any award is a praise to your name, but this isn't an award that would really mean much to Ja Morant because people should know. We know what Ja Morant is.
It would mean a lot to him, I think.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, to him, yeah.
Any award you win in the NBA is in high regard. But
I already see him as an all-star.
But look at what that award would mean to Miles Bridges. Look what that award would mean to Jordan Poole.
You see Ja Morant as an all-star now, but last year he wasn't viewed that way. Last year he was viewed as an all-star caliber player.
I was always high.
I thought he was an all-star.
Maybe it's just my fandom.
His playoff performance really made us, and his playing performances made us really, open up our eye to him a little bit. But this is really like his third season, breakout season, that he's really ascending into that top echelon of the league in terms of guards.
In my opinion, you take the Grizzlies to the playoffs in your first year, in your second season. The Grizzlies, who have
first year.
Wasn't he a rookie that year that he?
No, they didn't make the playoffs.
They didn't make
The
it.
play-in, excuse me.
play-in,
In the
play-in.
bubble, they missed out. You're right. They did miss out. That being said, to have them in contention in the West, that is
Stacked.
extremely difficult to have success in. To be this early in your career and already have this much of an impact on your squad and make your team a contender for the playoffs, you got to at least get respect in that sense. So I feel like with that alone, people look at John Morant like he is a superstar.
I think he's one in the making for sure. But when talking about this award, I think voters are going to lean Ja a little bit more. And because of Charlotte having a lot of players that can score, I don't know if Bridges can keep this up. Do I think he'll average like 20? Possibly.
Maybe.
But I really
You don't
think...
see 23, though, right?
I don't know.
23 is a lot because Rozier barely's played.
I think Bridges at the end of the year will average 18 and 19. I don't
Not
think
bad.
he'll stay at 20.
That's still a big improvement, though.
It's a gigantic improvement.
Yeah.
And like Poole's averaging 15 right now with a bunch of games in between of being very sketchy.
Poole's out.
I don't think he's out. I don't
Poole's
think he's out.
He
I
was my
disagree.
pick. He's out, though.
Bro, 25 and 31 the last 2 games. His defense has been stellar. If he can just be a little bit more consistent, it's not out of the realm of possibility given the fact that he's starting to get hot that he brings it up to 18, 19 points per game.
When Klay comes back?
It's not out of the realm of possibility.
Clay's
think he
going to be
got
on a
too
minutes
much.
restriction, bro, for a while.
That's true, but I just think Poole
Especially if they're the 1 seed. That's going to be interesting.
Poole is going to have like a 3 to 5 point jump. I think
He was at 9 last season. He's already at 15.
6 point jump. So he's at a 6 point jump
And
right now.
it's not out of the realm of possibility. He brings that up with as good as he's been these last 2 games.
performances, yeah.
That it's not out of the realm of possibility that he can get that to a 17.
He was at 12 last year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He's at 17.6 right now.
So is he
He's like a 6 point jump.
where is he? Is he a top 5 in that award, in your opinion? Top 5 candidate?
I think 1 is Ja. Betting odds is Ja, Miles Bridges. 3 is Hero, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like Poole and OG.
My bad.
Or Barnes.
But I don't know if Barnes is there. But I know that the betting odds, it's like Ja Moran is plus 350, Bridges is plus 400, and then the next guy, which is Hero, is like plus 4,000.
I don't know who I was
Wow.
looking at. I guess maybe his first
Something like
year he was
that.
averaging 8. My bad.
So
last year he averaged 12.
Yeah.
yeah, because he started later on in the season and really kicked up.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, I think this award really is between Ja and Miles Bridges, and something tells me Ja's gonna get that edge.
He is Ja. So
Yeah.
if people already, if you're saying that he's the odds-on favorite to win it already, and people want him to get that award the way he's been playing, I mean, he's Ja Morant.
He's had a 6 point increase, right? So then if your prediction of Miles Bridges averaging 18 and he has a 6 point increase, he might be right. We're going to look at a 25 points per game score from a 19 to a 25 is like, wow. So I think that you might have a point there.
And this is without Dylan Brooks too. And you said that you think that he'll continue to sustain it. I think it's possible that he could sustain it, obviously, because he's shown he has the ability to backpack a team if he needs to. But Dylan Brooks is he's a good ball player, and he knows how to score the basketball.
That's a great point, because now as a voter, I'm looking at, okay, so he went from 12 to 18, but this guy went from 19 to 25. John Morant might have my vote, but we'll see.
Cole Anthony is another guard that is in that race. I don't know where he is in that race, but
He's good.
Cole Anthony, because he plays for Orlando, probably isn't getting his just due.
He's good.
He's averaging 19 points per game, 7.5 rebounds, 5.5 assists, shooting 42% from the field, 40% from 3. He was one of the top players coming out of high school, the second-ranked player in the country coming out of high school. Cole Anthony, son of Greg Anthony, from New York. Could have drafted him on draft night. I would have loved Cole Anthony on my team, but he's on the Orlando Magic. Now, the good thing about the Magic and the fact that they drafted so many guards, you know, drafting Jaylen Suggs, drafting RJ Hampton, or trading for RJ Hampton, drafting Cole Anthony, trading for Markelle Fultz, is that they can see who pans out and who doesn't. And as of right now, it's looking like Cole Anthony is going to pan out. Markelle Fultz coming off an ACL injury.
Awesome.
I mean, Markelle Fultz, you know, he hasn't had a season as good as Cole Anthony, and he's been in the league longer.
Yeah.
RJ Hampton, I like. Jaylen Suggs doesn't look too great right now, but he's a rookie. We'll give him time. What does Cole Anthony's emergence mean for the Orlando Magic? And before I let you guys answer this, I want to give a shout out to what they've been doing. Jamal Mosley has been amazing with the player development. Wendell Carter averaging a double-double. Mo Bamba averaging 12 and 9 with 2 blocks, shooting close to 50% from the 3 and 40%. 50% from the field and 40% from 3. I mean, these guys are playing well. They're losing games, but you can see that these younger players are developing. And the fact that Mo Bamba is just getting playing time now is a disgrace, because I thought that when he played, he made an impact, but Steve Clifford never played him much. But now he's getting his opportunity, and he's playing really well. Franz Wagner also playing well. Their young guys are really stepping up to the plate, but Cole Anthony has been the best, averaging 19, 4 20-point games and 1 30-point game this season. He's doing his thing. So what do you think about Cole?
I think Cole Anthony is a solid ball player. I mean, he's shown it up until this point. He's been an excellent ball scorer for them. Facilitating the offense, averaging 5.5 assists is obviously pretty good, especially when the pieces around him aren't the greatest scorers either. I think ultimately, in terms for what it means for Jalen Suggs, and who else did you bring up? R.J. Hampton or Markelle Fultz? Excuse me. I think Markelle Fultz is an unfortunate situation, obviously, because we've seen when he's on the court, he is a good ball player. It's just unfortunate what injuries have done to his career. Jalen Suggs is interesting because he's a shooting guard. Right now, he's listed as a shooting guard. Played point guard, in college. So obviously, he's capable of doing so. But up until this point, facilitating the offense, he hasn't been that great. I think he's averaging just under 4 assists. His PER right now is at a 6. So Jalen Suggs definitely been struggling. I feel like all that does for Jalen Suggs, though, is relieve a little bit of pressure off of him. It doesn't necessarily mean that Jalen Suggs has to be, the end-all, be-all, or the Magic are going to be trash. At least he has a few, bright spots of the squad where Cole Anthony has been spectacular up until this point. You mentioned it, Mo Bamba, Wendell Carter, who... as much as Riv says that Wendell Carter sucked on the Bulls, he wasn't terrible.
No, he wasn't bad on the Bulls.
He was not. I mean, he was essentially doing this. He was a good rebounder and just got just around 10 points, 11 points per game. He's basically what he was in the Bulls, except we're seeing on the Magic because he's getting more opportunities than he would. And Mo Bamba, like you mentioned, another one who's getting more opportunities. Why wouldn't you, if you're the Magic, take or start giving a guy you drafted, wasn't he the 5th pick overall? It makes absolutely no sense that he had gotten no burn up until this point, and now we're starting to see what he's actually made of. That was just an oversight by the Magic for sure. But back to where we were talking about Cole Anthony and Jalen Suggs and Markelle Fultz. Markelle Fultz, I think that they need to move on from that. I think that giving him that contract, they probably felt like they needed to do it because he was one of the few bright spots of the squad at the time. But I feel like with the way that they're moving, they need to hone in on a new scheme, a new dynamic. And I feel like this Cole Anthony, Jalen Suggs could be a part of that. Wendell Carter, Mo Bamba, they're a good step in the right direction of we have players that can rebound. We got big men that can shoot the basketball. We have a point guard who can facilitate. We have a shooting guard that can also facilitate, but can also be effective scoring, rebounding, doing a little bit of everything defensively. I just think that it's going to take time. And I feel like Cole Anthony just relieves pressure on the squad that people don't have to be Superman every night.
So when Fultz comes back, are you starting Fultz and benching Suggs?
No.
I feel like that would be not beneficial for Suggs' confidence, but I think
Suggs hasn't been good.
He hasn't been good at all. A 6 PER is embarrassing. Regardless of whether you're a rookie or not, we've seen rookies still be somewhat efficient and not post up a 6 PER. I think you do probably start Fultz because you gave him money. You don't want to see him not, live up to or waste that money that you put into him. So I think you do start him, and Suggs shouldn't take it personal or feel like he's being benched. He's a rookie. You got to ultimately earn your playing time. And we saw where Mo Bamba, he really had to earn his playing time. So it's not anything against Suggs. Suggs knows that he's an integral part of this team. He just got to understand his point or his position on the squad as of right now.
And we're not even talking about Jonathan Isaac and what that can do for Franz's minutes or even Chuma Okeke.
And Franz has been excellent. Up until this point,
Franz has been really good.
He's been amazing.
Really he's been stellar.
He's been amazing.
So, I mean, the emergence of Cole Anthony, I mean, like I said, personally, I was never really a big fan of Markelle Fultz, especially with that whole situation about him not really being a consistent jump shooter. Coming off an ACL tear, I just don't feel like anything's going in his favor. As just strictly my opinion, I would move on from him if I was the Orlando Magic. I think you stick with Cole Anthony, Jaylen Suggs. They're younger, and Cole Anthony's playing really well this year. This is a guy who he's taken a big leap in his 3-point percentage. Last year was at 36. This year he's at 40. Given it's only like 10, 11 games, let's see if he can continue it. His efficiency last year, I had questions about his efficiency last year. He was shooting 35, 36%. That's up to 42, 43 on the border, 43%. So I agree with you, Drew. I think that his play kind of like relieves or takes off pressure from Jaylen Suggs, because Jaylen Suggs was a lottery pick. And, to your guy's point, he's not really playing that well. He's shooting 31% for the field, 23% for the three. I think he'll turn it around. I think he's a really talented player. I think he was a good prospect coming out of college. I think that he can definitely turn it around. But as far as the Markelle Fultz aspect of it, if you're running that 3-guard set, if I'm off on one, I'm off on Markelle Fultz. I know you paid him a lot of money, but I feel like you bringing back Markelle Fultz could potentially stunt the growth or stunt the confidence that Jaylen Suggs might have going into the season. I think Jaylen Suggs is going to turn it around. I don't think he's going to continue to shoot 31% from the field and 23% from the 3-point line. I can see him getting more comfortable with the NBA game and being more efficient. But as far as Cole Anthony, he's the number one guard right now. He's giving you 19 points. Pretty good. He's actually really good at rebounding. I was watching a video breakdown of him the other day. So far, he's actually one of the best rebounding guards in the league. He's pretty small too, so for the fact that he's getting all those rebounds, that's pretty impressive. I would like to see him improve as a playmaker a little bit. I know he's averaging 5. I think there's room for growth there, but as far as his game this year, he's definitely surprised me statistically across the board for his percentages, his averages. I think he's good. I think the Magic know right now he is their number one guy. Jaylen Suggs should be their number 2, and I would be out on Markelle Fultz. I was never really high on him.
The way Cole Anthony is playing right now, this is the best point guard player Orlando has had since Jameer Nelson.
Yeah,
Nelson. It is the best point guard player they have had since Jameer Nelson.
The ad-lib.
Nelson. I used to be a big fan of him when I was a big Dwight Howard fan back in the day. I used to like Jameer Nelson.
Jameer Nelson was good, man.
He was a hooper.
He had a good season. He was good. He was good that year.
He was huge for them. Then he got hurt, and they needed him.
Nelson, baby.
It's so weird with Orlando because I think if I was a Magic fan, I'd be feeling optimistic, but I'd also be feeling kind of weary. The reason why is because optimistic in the fact that Cole Anthony looks good, Franz Wagner looks good, Mo Bamba looks good, Wendell looks good.
Oh yeah.
And then I'm forgetting somebody, but I'll just
Jonathan
go back
Isaac.
to it. Oh yeah, and Jonathan Isaac is returning, and he's a pivotal part to what they do.
He's usually good when he plays. So
I mean, you got Terrence Ross. He's been playing okay.
I think when Isaac comes back, it's gonna be Bamba at the 5. I would start Bamba, and I would have Wendell off the bench.
It's a pretty good young team, man.
But then you have guys like RJ Hampton. What is he going to be? Chuma Okeke, he hasn't been getting much minutes as of recently. Hasn't been as productive as he was his rookie season. He's coming back from an injury. Then you talk about Markelle Fultz. They gave him a contract. How is he going to be? Is he going to live up to his expectations? Jaylen Suggs, even though I know he's just a rookie and it's just the start to his career, the way he's playing, when you look at how Scottie's playing, when you look at how Josh Giddey's playing, when you look at how the impact Davion Mitchell has made at Sacramento, you got to be looking at yourself if you're an Orlando Magic fan like, did we take the wrong guy?
Early.
Like Suggs obviously had all the hype, but as a player, the potential. I don't think he has as much potential as Jonathan Kuminga. They passed up on Kuminga, on Giddey, who I love Giddey.
Giddey, I can understand. Kuminga, we got to wait and see because
obviously you're totally right.
You're
totally right. The player that everybody thought, the pick that everybody thought Orlando nailed in the draft, they didn't nail it. And the player that everybody thought they didn't nail in Franz is the one who's drastically better.
Right.
So if I'm a Magic fan, I'm like, okay, we have all these good young players, but on the other side of the spectrum, man, what is Suggs gonna be? Is he another Elfrid Payton? And I don't think he's gonna be that. But you got to be thinking like, maybe there is a slight possibility there. It's really early. I don't want to get ahead of myself. Yeah. But these are just thoughts that I would have if I was a fan. Jaylen Suggs, what is Chuma gonna be? What is RJ Hampton gonna be? It's just they have these young players, but because they have a bunch of young players at the same position, one person, when they take that leap, it's going to overshadow somebody else. So Cole Anthony, I didn't expect him to be doing this. I thought the starting one spot was Jalen Suggs all day. He was going to be the point guard of the future. But if Cole plays like this, it's not going to be Suggs. Their point guard of the future is going to be Cole.
Yeah, definitely.
So then you drafted Suggs to be your guy for the future, but now it's Cole. So now your Cole is being great at the expense of what Suggs could have been. So it's kind of like a swing. You know,
you think they can coexist together, Suggs and Cole Anthony?
I think they can.
I think so.
I don't like it, honestly.
Really?
I just don't like guard tandems like that. Like guard tandems that are formed like that remind me of Monte and Brandon Jennings. Remind me of
what's wrong with that though? Brandon Jennings and Monte
was pretty.
They don't fit. They don't fit. They had success together, but I just don't think long term it's a recipe for success.
So you're saying Orlando might have to make a decision down the road to get rid of one of them?
Yeah, and that's what happens with teams when they have multiple guards. They have to make that decision.
All I'll say is, even with Jalen Suggs' struggles right now, he's still averaging just under 13 points a game. It's like he can only.
You're right.
He's getting up a lot of shots though,
which is true.
Yeah.
But again, the game's gonna come more easy
early.
to him eventually.
You're right, but I'm just saying, like,
super early.
I don't view Markelle Fultz as a shooting guard. I don't view Jalen Suggs as a shooting guard.
That's
I don't view RJ Hampton. Well, I do view RJ. I view RJ Hampton as a tweener, like
I agree.
3, 2, 1, whatever. But they're playing them at that position because they got to play. Because they want to see what they have in those players.
Yeah.
But only one of those guys is going to be the point guard. I think the other guys are probably going to get traded down the road. I don't view Suggs as a shooting guard. I think he's a point guard.
I feel like at this point in time, when Isaac comes back, the way that Wendell and Mo Bamba have been playing, is it out of the realm of possibility that you have Jalen Suggs be the sixth man off the bench? Because you're saying that you have concerns about.
No, I think it's possible. I think
because Franz, you can't take him out of the starting lineup right
Franz
now.
is going to start at the 3. Wendell is going to come off the bench when Isaac comes back. The starting lineup, when everybody's healthy, is going to be, in my opinion, Cole, Markelle, Franz, Isaac, and Bamba. Off the bench is going to be Suggs, Wendell, Okeke, Terrence Ross, and the guys they got.
How do you feel about Markelle Fultz?
I'm not a big fan, but he did have some flashes,
He did.
Before he got hurt, he had some flashes. He had a game winner against the Lakers, and then he got hurt.
He's still athletic. It's just ultimately his jumper is spotty.
And to me, Markelle is more of a 2 than Suggs is a 2. I think Suggs is he's an initiator of an offense.
Yeah, he is.
Markelle Fultz, even out of college, he was a combo guard.
Do you think Suggs can grow into that aspect to be a shooting guard? If need be,
if he develops a spot of shooting, absolutely. But I just don't think that's where he's gonna be best. And that's what I mean. Like Orlando's in a spot where you're happy that Cole is exceptional, but then it's like, man, does this mean Suggs isn't our guy?
I feel like Cole Anthony could play the 2. Why can't Cole Anthony play the 2 and Suggs plays the 1?
Because Cole needs the ball in his hands.
Which is fine. A shooting guard can still get the ball in his hands.
Yeah, he can.
Yeah, but Cole is 19-6 right now.
Oh, listen, he's been all world.
But we don't look at him as a premier playmaker either, though, right?
No, he's not. But I think Cole can be. You don't have to be a premier playmaker to play the point guard position. It's just Suggs. I don't view Suggs and look at great shot creator. I don't see that. My pre-draft comparison for Suggs was the best of Eric Bledsoe. I think Jalen Suggs is going to be Eric Bledsoe at his best, which was in Phoenix. He gives you like 19, 6, and 6. Like, I think that's what Jalen Suggs is, a transition player, a rhythm player.
Do you think Cole can transition to the shooting guard?
I think he has those skills, but he's a point guard in my opinion. And I'm just not a fan of having undersized 2s. I'm just not. Cole's what, 6'2", 6'3"? I don't want that in my shooting guard. Suggs is 6'4". I want a 6'6" shooting guard. I'm traditional. I want a 6'5", 6'6" shooting guard. That's what I want. What's going to save Suggs is that he's a really good defender. But I said it before, my pre-draft comparison was Eric Bledsoe in Phoenix. So I think, he's best at that one spot. Cole, to me, is more of the realm of like the Dames and the Kemba Walkers, scoring guards. They still play that 1, but because they're so great at scoring, they're going to have that spot solidified. And Suggs has to be great at something. Like Cole Anthony, he's great at rebounding. He's a great shot creator. Suggs has to be great at something. Right now, it's defense. What I like about Suggs is that he's still playing with great IQ. His shot's just not falling.
That's it.
But we have to see how that goes. I like Suggs, but I just think because there's so much guards, somebody's going to get left out. And who knows who's going to be. As of right now, it doesn't look like it's going to be Cole. And walking into the season, I thought the guy that was going to get left out was Cole. And now he's the one blossoming out of everybody.
For sure. I'm with you.
Cade Cunningham. First overall pick in the NBA draft by the Detroit Pistons. He's averaging 10.8 points per game, 5.8 rebounds, 2.8 assists per game, and averaging 2.3 turnovers, shooting 23% from the field, and he's only made 4 threes out of 28 so far this season. Are you worried about Cade Cunningham and his shooting struggles? He is not the only guy in Detroit that people are worried about or might be worried about. I mean, another guy, Killian Hayes. Everybody's worried about him, but
he can go.
Cade Cunningham, what's up with him? Do you think he'll figure it out? Is this just the start to the season? Do you think this is a big deal?
No, I don't think this is a big deal. This is the number 1 overall pick. This is the guy that I picked to be rookie of the year. What is he shooting right now from the field? 21%?
23.2.
That's not going to last. I mean, game by game, like these last 2 games, he's gotten better. Even against Brooklyn last night, it was a little bit inefficient, but he gave you 17 points. It's pretty efficient from the 3. I think he was 3 for 5 from the 3.
Yeah, 3 of 7.
I mean, I just look at his game in college. He was a really well-rounded scorer. He's a good all-around player, and he's much better than averaging 10 points and 2 assists a game. I don't think that this 23% field goal percentage is going to keep up. I think as he gets more experience, as he plays more games down the road, he'll be more comfortable with the NBA game. And as far as the 3-point percentage, I mean, he was a pretty good 3-point percentage shooter in college. If you look at the form on his jump shot, he has an exceptional jump shot shooting form, really nice form. I think that part of the game is going to obviously increase his percentage as time goes on. So no, I'm not worried about Cade Cunningham's struggles. I mean, I saw him yesterday. He was not going toe to toe, but he was fearless on the court. He was going at James Harden, a couple plays where he went at Kevin Durant, hit a couple clutch threes last night, made the game pretty close in the fourth quarter with his 2 3-pointers. So no, I think that this is just rust. I think that injury, he's starting to he has to get used to the NBA game. It's much faster. There's much more expected out of him. Jeremy Grant's struggles really hasn't helped him out as well because Jeremy Grant was supposed to be that guy who's your number 1 scorer. I mean, he's taken a tremendous drop off statistically this year. So no, I think with the more games that he plays, Cade Cunningham will be good. I mean, I saw a couple plays yesterday. He went to the basket, looked good. Jump shot looked good. Transition passing looked good. Rebound is good. Solid defense. I think the kid's going to be fine. I just think you got to give it a couple more games, and I think he'll have that one breakout game, and we'll all look back at this and be like, whoa, like we were kind of overreacting off this. So I think that the kid's going to be fine.
I'll tell you what hurts. We were waiting on the debut of Cade Cunningham. Obviously, he was the last rookie, the number 1 rookie in the draft, number 1 select overall, and then he's the last rookie to make his debut. We're all anticipating it. We were all excited for it. And then he goes 1 of 8 against Orlando. It's just not what you were expecting to see by any stretch of the means. But ultimately, I'm not too stressed about it. I think he's Cade Cunningham. I think that he has all the intangibles to be successful. And you still look at the games that he's still struggled in. He's still making an impact on the court, whether it be defense, whether it be passing, whether it be rebounding. Cade Cunningham's the type of player that he doesn't have to have his shot falling to still have an impact on the game. And that's what makes him so special, and that's what allows me to still have confidence in him going in the future. Against the Nets, this was, to a degree, his breakout game. You look at 6 for 17. Obviously, that's not the best, but still 17 points, a steal, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, clutch shooting in the come down the stretch of the game against a solid Nets team. Nevertheless, he was playing defense against Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant obviously is Kevin Durant. He's cooking them, but the fact that he's willing to take that challenge this early in his career shows to me that he's fearless. I mean, my biggest issue with people that are struggling are when you're struggling, you are hesitant and you shy away from taking the shots that you normally would take. I would rather a player go 2 of 14 like he did against Milwaukee than a player go 0 for 4 because he just didn't feel it in those 4 shots. Because at least you're showing me that, you know what, I may be down, but you're not going to stop me. I may be not the normal self that I'm accustomed to, but I'm going to hit eventually. It just takes a certain type of confidence in a player to to really put you in that type of headspace. The Kobe Bryants, the Allen Iversons, the LeBron James, the Kevin Durants. Cade Cunningham has that type of potential. I'm not saying that he's going to be Kevin Durant, LeBron James, but he has that superstar type ability, those intangibles to be great. 6'8", 200 pounds, the ability to facilitate an offense, to rebound, to score, to shoot. He can do it all. It's inevitable until he gets it going. It's early in his career. I'm not stressed about it at all. And just the fact that he has already shown me up until this point that he can impact the game on top of still not being overly concerned about a stat line is great to me.
Cade Cunningham is going to be fine. I'm not too worried about this. He had 18 and 10 against Philly. Granted, 9 of those points were at the free throw line. 17, 4, and 2 against Brooklyn. From the field, he wasn't good, but from the three, he was good. He was efficient. These are the things Cade Cunningham has done well so far. Defensively, he's been really good defensively.
He has been.
And that's why, even though he's not scoring, he makes an impact on the court because he's a really good defender. And he's getting shots off. It would bother me if he was forcing up shots, if he was shot chucking. We know he has the ultimate green light. But Cade is getting to his spots.
Getting good shots.
He's getting good shots. He's getting to his spots. He's just not making them. He's not finishing at this moment. What he's not doing so well, I think his floaters have been off. His floaters haven't been good at all. His passes are off. And I said this before the draft because Riv and I talked about Mobley versus Cade. I talked about it. I thought Evan Mobley coming out of the draft was a better passer than Cade. I don't see Cade as a great playmaker. He can playmake to an extent, but he's not a Luka level playmaker. He's not, or like what Luka was coming out of, Europe. He wasn't that. He's not a Josh Giddey level playmaker. Like Cade Cunningham is not a phenomenal playmaker. He's a good playmaker, but you could tell from his passes when he gets double teamed. Sometimes, he doesn't make the right read. It's a turnover, and you can see it in his assist turnover ratio. He doesn't take very good care of the ball and shooting. His form, like you said, JC, it looks great. His form looks great. Are there some misses occasionally where he hits the side of the backboard or it hits the glass? You're like, ooh, that's a terrible miss. Of course, but for the most part, his threes have been in and out. His threes have been in and out. I'm like, damn, bro, that's just a tough miss. It is what it is. Cade's going to figure it out eventually. He's that great. But there are some concerns there. He has to work on some things. He has to work on his floater. He has to work on his passing, his playmaking ability. And teams are already double teaming him, especially off of pick and rolls.
Yeah.
They're leaving the fader usually because when they're trying to get a screen for a big man to go to the 3-point line and spot up, they're usually leaving their big man, and they're usually just trapping Cade. I saw that in the Milwaukee Bucks game. They're just doing that. So teams are going to start doubling Cade, Jeremy Grant. We kind of knew that last season was just a fluke season. Like, nobody after that season thought Jeremy Grant was a household name. Yeah, he had that type of season, but we know what type of player Jeremy Grant is. Killian Hayes hasn't shown much. He has been okay defensively. He has been pretty good, but we know what Killian Hayes is, at least to this point. They're a team, it's going to be rough this year, but Cade Cunningham, they're just hoping that he plays to the level of his overall selection, which was number 1 overall pick, because that's what they need right now.
Isaiah Stewart, I believe that's his name, correct? He's been pretty good for them.
He's
up
all
to
right.
this
He's
point.
a good player.
Josh Jackson, another guy that I've been pretty.
He's all right.
He's okay.
He is all right, but I at least like to see him making strides
Kelly
in this
Olynyk's
game.
been good.
Kelly Olynyk's another one that
He's
he was
pretty good.
exceptional with the Rockets in his short tenure there, but I feel like his game last night against the Nets was probably his best game of the season. But regardless of that, Kelly Olynyk, he's a firm ball player for him, and at least he has another player that he can sort of rely on to facilitate the basketball, get you.
I'm gonna be honest. If I'm a star player and I'm
Kelly
playing for a team,
listen, I'm with you.
and you tell me Kelly Olynyk's a guy I can rely on,
I'm with you.
I'm leaving.
Yeah, I'd be pretty upset about it too, but at the same time, at least it's better than nothing because that's really, other than him,
That's really what Jeremy
screwed.
Grant's giving you. He's not really giving you much, Jeremy Grant.
you understand what I'm saying?
0
So
for
I mean,
9.
at the minimum, he can look at Kelly. Kelly Olynyk provides some 5 out of 10 security. It could be a lot worse, but it could be a whole lot better.
So Jeremy Grant this year is averaging 16.6 points per game, shooting 38% from the field and 29% from 3.
And that's all based off opportunity with that 16 points.
Yeah, exactly. And it's crazy because when I put up the video on TikTok about Jeremy Grant and how
People
he
were
could drop
calling you
off,
crazy?
people were like, "Oh, this guy has never heard of increased roles. He's never heard of roles, bruh." It's
95% of those guys are Pistons fans.
Jeremy Grant. We knew what he was.
Yeah,
But
but
I'll give you.
23
I'll
last
give you.
year.
Listen, I didn't think that it was going to be this drastic.
Me neither. I thought he would be like
maybe
21.
maybe he picks it up. Who knows? But
Hopefully, I mean.
Maybe
I heard-
Cade opens up the court for him a little bit too. But
I heard the Pistons right now. They're like the worst shooting team from the field goal
they look
in a while.
They look horrible. They had a great game against the Nets, but outside of that, they've
like
looked
if they
horrible.
keep this up, it's historically bad.
Yeah.
Like that's what I heard. It's historically bad. But this is gonna do it for this episode of the Pick a Side Podcast, episode 127. Riv couldn't be here. He was in the hospital. He passed out at the gym. So prayers up for Riv.
Put some
Hopefully
comments
he
in the
feels
chat.
better.
Get him some water. Just tell him to start drinking something other than what? I forget what. I'm blanking. Bro drinks everything under the sun except water for some reason. But what are you gonna do? Hopefully he's all right.
Arizona.
Yeah, maybe that has to be what it is.
So you can follow us on Instagram and on TikTok at Pick a Side Podcast, on Twitter at Pick a Side Pod. And also, we bought tickets to the Knicks at Nets game the 30th of November this month. So if you guys got tickets to that game, say what's up. Pass by where we're sitting. We'll go meet you guys. So, yeah, we just wanted to shout that out. Next time, I'm going to shout it out at the beginning of the episode because most people are probably gone by now.
Yeah.
But
The
thank
real
you
ones
guys
are
for
here with
listening
us.
and watching, and we'll see you next time.